So Tucker Carlson did an interview with Russell Brand, and he said something that it might be shocking, and it might actually, it might be kind of obvious. There were a lot of feds on January 6th embedded. What Tucker Carlson said was that he had done an interview with the Capitol Police Chief who told him this, and he wasn't a conspiracist. And then he hears this, is like, interesting. He did not get a chance to air that interview because Fox removed him before he could. He does intend to have that interview. So this is really, really fascinating. I don't know if it's necessarily a revelation because we've been learning more and more about the officers who were embedded on January 6th and even encouraging people to take action. But I still think this is big news. I'm looking forward to seeing how Tucker handles moving forward. And we do have a lot of other news, too, of course. We'll talk about that. Donald Trump heading to Dairy Queen, buying everybody blizzards, having a good time. And then this may sadden all of you leftists. Yes, our leftist fans. AOC has endorsed Joe Biden. Sure. Okay. Talk about an establishment shill, but fine. We get it. And then we'll just talk about what's going on with the election stuff. We got some Ron DeSantis in the news, and we're going to be talking a bit about that. You know, this one's going to get silly, but the DeSantis campaign used footage that was produced by Timcast News in a text message that was sent out to a bunch of people and an ad. And the text message was literally just our clip with "paid for by Ron DeSantis" on it. And that's generated controversy among the DeSantis supporters who are screeching at me because I simply said we did not license this footage to them. Because, like, I don't know what else I'm supposed to say when they text people a clip, like our clip, and says "paid for by DeSantis," and people are like, "Hey, wow, did you sell this to them?" And I'm like, "No, we didn't license it," and they're all losing their minds. So we're gonna have to talk about it. Before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com and buy Cast Brew coffee. Why? It's our coffee company. It's the best coffee company. I got to be honest. This morning I had a cup of Rise with Roberto Jr. Man, I can't figure out which one I like better, Rise with Roberto Jr. or Appalachian Nights, but they are both so amazing. And look, we formulated these things, these blends. So, of course, it's our favorite, but I really do think some of the highest quality stuff. And I hope you enjoy coffee because then you will buy castbrew.com and join our Cast Brew Coffee Club where you'll get 3 bags of coffee every month. Supporting us, this is one way you can do it. We're sponsoring ourselves and we're launching real world coffee shops. It's just taken a long time, but they're coming. Also, head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member to support us directly, and you'll get access to our massive library, hundreds of members only episodes. And as of recent, you all calling in to ask our guests and us questions. So definitely support us that way. Smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is James Klug.
Thanks for having me. What's going on, everyone? James Klug. You can find my YouTube channel, youtube.com/JamesKlug, primarily focused on street conversations with folks on the left and leftists out on the street, everything like that. So you guys, thank you so much for having me.
Right on. And making a rare appearance is producer Carter Banks.
What's up, guys? I'm back since the one time that I was on the other time. And it's great to see everyone.
He's back.
I'm here to hang out.
What do you do?
I make music and do Trash House Records stuff. We got a lot of stuff coming up, including a music video with starring Ian Crossland.
That's going to be hefty.
Yeah, we talked about that last night.
Very good.
Phil Labonte is here.
Hi, everybody. I am Phil Labonte, lead singer of All That Remains, anti-communist and counter-revolutionary. And we are here with
Ian Crossland. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Have a good evening tonight. Let's get started. We have to my right.
Yes, it is me. Hi, what's up, everybody? It's Kellen, pressing buttons tonight. Ready to go when you guys are.
Let's get it. Here's the first story from the Daily Mail. Tucker Carlson tells Russell Brand he doesn't know why he was fired by Fox News in his first interview, as he also makes the bombshell claim that the crowd outside the Capitol on January 6th was filled with federal agents. Well, in fact, we have that clip. Green Lives Matter. Not sure who that is, other than they have a good amount of followers, and they tweeted this. Tucker says the chief of Capitol Police told him that the crowd on January 6th was filled with federal agents. He planned on airing that interview, but was canceled before he could do so. Now we know why he was canceled and fired. Are you seeing it clearly now? They don't want the world to know the truth. Well, let me play for you that clip. It's only about 50 seconds long.
And that was a tip-off to me. I mean, I had no thought in my head as I watched this happen on television and in the subsequent weeks that U.S. law enforcement or military agencies had anything to do with it. That never crossed my mind. I never thought that it was a false flag or anything like that. I'm not a conspiracist by temperament. I never thought that. And then I interviewed the chief of the Capitol Police, Stephen Sund, in an interview that was never aired on Fox, by the way. I was fired before it could air. I'm going to interview him again. But Stephen Sutton was the totally non-political, worked for Nancy Pelosi. I mean, this was not some right-wing activist. He was the chief of the Capitol Police on January 6th. And he said, oh, yeah. That crowd was filled with federal agents. What? Yes. Well, he would know, of course, because he was in charge of security at the site. So the more time has passed, now it's been...
So that's the gist of it. I mean, it's big news, but I do think it's going to be better when Tucker does actually interview the chief of police and we hear it straight from, this individual who's in charge of security. But
yeah, I would imagine he's going to actually deliver that promise as well.
Yeah.
Getting that out there, because that'll just be, pretty much confirming a lot of what people have been saying right after January 6th. I don't know if you guys remember, but obviously this was right after the Summer of Love and everything like that. And a major narrative just from people was, Trump supporters don't really move like that. This seems a little bit off. This seems suspicious.
Right.
It seems as though the more time that's passing by, the more this stuff is just getting exposed every single month.
The scary thing, I suppose, is it's trickling in drops at a time.
Yeah.
We see videos of some guy saying like, go, 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 move, and encouraging people to engage in this stuff. Then we learn that there's more and more police officers who are in on it. The funny thing is, early on, you have that famous video with AOC where she's like, I'm, questioning the cops who may have been involved, or she said something to that effect after Alex Stein did that big booty Latina thing. She was saying like, we don't feel safe and stuff. And the point I made was, wow, AOC is claiming it was an inside job. But there's videos of cops opening the doors for people, waving people in, taking selfies with people. So right there, you could argue, yeah, the cops were letting people in. If this was really an insurrection, well, they were police officers letting them in.
Yeah.
Now there's a bigger question, and increasingly more and more news being added to the mix, which is creating a bigger picture of actually there were people in the crowd encouraging it and making it happen. And the reason why I say it's scary is that it's coming out only in slow droplets to the point where people don't care because it's not a bombshell.
Yeah, just drop as many 1,000 stories over the next handful of years, and like you said, not a big bombshell. I think for the general like population as well, they don't grab onto the little tiny hints and clues here and there. They really grab onto major bombshells. So if I went out on the street and talked to people about these details that have been coming out, most people don't know about this stuff. They only know about major explosions in the media, and then, assuming that the mainstream media even covers it.
And then by the time we're at the general election next year, it will be common knowledge that it was largely a federal operation, and they'll be saying it was a good thing.
Yeah. It saved the election or helped save the election.
Helped save democracy.
Yeah.
First, they'll say, first they said it wasn't happening, you're lying. Now we have more information, it was. Then they're going to say, oh, well, you're exaggerating. And then by next year, it'll be a good thing. That's how the cycle goes. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, it happened. Yeah, and it was a really good thing that it did because they caught those evil people.
For sure.
Yeah, they prevented a siege by letting them inside and capturing them on the inside. Is probably the argument they'll make.
What would have happened if they tried to block them? I mean, it would have been real. Maybe they would have burned it down, So by opening the door, and encouraging them to do it was to find out who was really going to be a seditionist and et cetera, blah blah blah.
I was thinking a lot about these protesters last night, and like they were addressing grievances. They didn't believe the election was fair, and they were trying to stand their ground and take space to prevent the signing of basically of Biden of the election. They were like whatever they were signing off and making it valid. They were like, no, we're going to stay here. So you can't. They weren't like attacking people or choking people. Ashley Babbitt got shot because she went a little too far. I think she climbing up and over the barricade going into the inner chambers got shot. I understand why. I don't like it, but they were like just taking up space.
Right, not to mention that had been done all over the place for the last however many hundreds of days, like we watched in the Summer of Love, so they're like, well, why can't we do this as well?
Well, they even try to sell it as an armed insurrection. Like, they will go that far. I talk to people about this all the time, and they will go that far to be like, oh, well, some guy across the parking lot was caught with a firearm on his person or something like that. Therefore, now they can say it's an armed insurrection. Like, I was there, man. I was reporting on the thing. I was there. Not inside, but I saw a lot of people, and it's like it was nothing like any riot you've ever seen. It was okay. Some people misbehaving over here. You look to your right, and it's like 15 grandmas praying.
Yeah. I think there's a photo of a guy who's on the stairs, and he's got a gun on him.
Was he a Fed? Now I'm starting to wonder.
But this is exactly the point.
Well, there's tens of thousands of people there too.
So here's the issue: is that I remember seeing these photos circulate, mainly among the left. A lot of people on the right didn't know this. Even I was wrong about this early on when I was like, there were no guns. What are you talking about? How could you have a gun in D.C.?
Yeah, they found a couple.
And they did. And now that we're learning that there were law enforcement there, it's like, oh, now that kind of explains it, doesn't it?
Right.
Like, were those guys... Because the question is, how do you get a firearm onto these into the city, onto these grounds with heightened security and stuff like that? How did they not spot this or find it? It's entirely possible. I'm not saying that they were law enforcement. It's entirely possible some guy did bring a gun. You can walk in, you can find ways to bypass security, or it could just be that the photo they found of that guy was... Because I don't think that guy's been charged either.
Well, and that's where it's like, okay, you raise a very reasonable question. Your question is, who is that? And even that gets criticized. It's,
Right.
Stop that. You're a conspiracy theorist. Don't have this conversation. Don't get more specific. Don't show more footage. Don't educate people.
I should clear it up too. They weren't all. I don't think they were all just standing there taking up space. Some of them were getting violent, pushing cops, breaking things.
You're right. Yeah.
So those
Fighting
people,
them.
I think, deserve to be punished for what they did, not
Yeah,
for anything
For sure.
more.
I mean, you can't just fight police and just get away with it unless you're a BLM protester.
Or Antifa.
Or
Considering the
Antifa.
previous year, it's not that much to ask to say, at least treat people fairly, the same way that you would that they treated the other protesters in D.C. and 6 months earlier.
But this is the point that Carter was making.
For sure.
You have the Summer of Love protests in riots in front of the White House, setting fire to St. John's Church, forcing the president to a bunker, and half the people on January 6th were nowhere near that level.
For sure.
They
They injured Secret Service as well. They destroyed multiple patrol vehicles.
Like 100 or something Secret Service were injured. A guard post was set on fire and burned down.
Right outside the White House.
The barricades were torn down.
Yep.
The president was forced into a bunker. And so you get people who are marching peacefully to the Capitol. And first, always preface it on one side, violence, very, very bad rioting. Yep, arrest those people. And then on the other side, you had the cops open the doors and say, don't agree with it, but respect it. And fan people into the point where there have been acquittals because there's video of the cops going like this and waving people in. So you're a guy watching Trump speak, and then someone says, hey, let's all go march down to the Capitol. And Trump says, we're going to go peacefully, watch politicians. You walk over, you see a building, you see the cops waving people in, you walk in, and they're like, you are now going to prison for the next several years without charge or trial because you're an insurrectionist. After you just watched all these videos of the far left trying to burn down a church in front of the White House, talk about, it's not even hypocrisy or double standard. Who was it who said, Jacob Sobek, maybe it's a 3-tier justice system?
Yeah, he did. He said it on this show when he was guest hosting.
There's the protected class, then there's the random run-of-the-mill people they care little about, and the persecuted class. Right. So if you're a regular person who's walking down the street, you may or may not get a ticket, they're going to ignore you, it's whatever. If you're a leftist extremist, not only will you be acquitted, like in D.C. when they were rioting during Trump's inauguration, they won a lawsuit and got paid out by tax dollars. And then if you're a Trump supporter, you will bumble around confused and you'll be in prison for 2 years.
Or if you're even perceived to be a Trump supporter or whatever, like Eric Herrera, he went to prison for, actually I'll first say, he was a non-credentialed journalist, went in there with a camera into the Capitol building, non-violent, nothing violent that he did, and he went to prison for 4 years.
What?
When?
He
Went
was
to prison.
sentenced?
He sentenced to prison for 4 years, and I think he went in maybe 3 months ago. Non-violent. You can even check out his case.
What was he charged with?
So what they got a lot of these people with, and I'm not going to be, I'm not a total professional on this, but I will say, when it comes to the charges, what they were getting people with was obstruction of an official proceeding. That's what they got him on.
That is what they were doing.
Even though he was there being a journalist, literally with a DSLR around his neck. I believe he went into one of the offices and held up a piece of paper. I'm pretty sure it says that on his case. But he got 4 years. You can compare that to, I mean, how many BLM or Antifa members can you compare that to from riots that did something 15, 20, 30 times worse that served way less time? That's insane.
There are absolutely many leftists who have been criminally charged. They often get ridiculously light sentences. There was just news about people at a Michael Knowles event, some far leftists who did something with explosives. They've been criminally charged. You have those two lawyers in New York who are giving out firebombs. And what did they get, a year?
I think they got maybe 2. They definitely got less than Eric. I know that for sure.
And we had Matt Brennan on the show
Did they get disbarred?
I don't even know. Probably. But I would imagine so. But I mean,
I would
even
really
not.
like to know if they got disbarred.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine too, but I wouldn't be
You never
shocked
know.
if we found out they didn't, though.
But Matt Brainerd was on the show just a couple days ago, and he mentioned that there's a guy, and probably more than one, that is currently in jail without charge or trial 2.5 years later. Not charged with anything. So you ask, what did they get these people on? Well, in some cases, nothing. In some cases, these people are just locked up for nothing.
Yep.
That's crazy.
For having the wrong political opinions and being in the wrong place in the wrong time.
Non-violent.
I actually forgot to mention also, Eric, to add on top of this case, he's actually a registered Democrat as well.
Oh, wow.
So he's not even that political of a guy. Not even that political.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about this here multi-tiered justice system with this story from the Daily Mail. Karine Jean-Pierre snaps at the press for asking if the cocaine belonged to Hunter or the Biden family. Because what was the latest update? That it was actually near the Situation Room in like a family and like high security area. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre snapped at a reporter who had asked her to say once and for all that the cocaine found at the White House did not belong to a Biden family member. I love how it's like a Biden family member because everybody knows.
You're not
it's
allowed to say his
Hunter.
name.
It's Hunter
You're not
Biden.
the mainstream, the media, and all the reporters. They're not allowed to say his name, basically.
You know, there's been some irresponsible reporting with the family, and so I've got to call that out here, the press secretary said, and I have been very clear. I was clear 2 days ago when talking about this over and over again, and as I was being asked the question. As you know, the media outlets reported this. The Biden family was not here. They were not here. They were at Camp David. They were not here Friday. They were not here Saturday. They were not here Sunday. They were not even here Monday. They came back here on Tuesday. It's remarkable because, like, Karine, they weren't there on Friday. Were they there on Thursday? Oh, and if they were, could Hunter have dropped his cocaine then? Well, okay.
Yeah. Well, I think them just not being transparent about it, or her not talking to Secret Service or anything like that to actually have some decent answers for the reporters.
I do love that we're at the point
Is-
where no one believes them.
I know.
The reporters are just like, come on, like come on, you know, Hunter Biden's a crackhead. What do you expect us to believe? But in
It
terms
could be
of
Jill's. We have no clue.
But let's just
be a
break-
Biden family member. I don't know.
for sure, and maybe not, maybe some senior official, someone connected. But let's just pause and break down. January 6th, bumbling guy walks through doors opened for him by police, takes selfie with cops, adheres to the velvet ropes as he walks around smiling. The police then say everyone's got to go, and they go, okay, and they wave and leave. 2 years in prison. Someone at a high level of government bringing illicit drugs into the White House. We can't figure this one out. Sorry, everybody. Have a nice day. How about this? Whoever planted the pipe bombs. Can't figure that one out either. Yeah, multi-tiered justice system.
This is a bit anecdotal, but I watched that video of Hunter on stage with Jill and Joe from the July 4th celebration where Hunter's looks all like tweaking pretty hard for like a couple seconds. And then he goes behind Jill, and I'm watching Joe's, maybe we can pull this video up. Watch Joe. He smiles real tense, and Jill looks so just mortified right when Hunter's behind her. It looks like he's snorting coke off his wrist or something, or out of a vial.
my God.
And Joe, like when his arm goes up is when Joe goes like really awkward smile, and Jill gets real annoyed. Like, oh God, she can't stand that guy Hunter. It's just so obvious. I think she's said it plaintively in the past that I don't know, to be honest. I don't have the documentation here, but
Do you guys remember that South Park
vibe is
episode?
not good.
I think it was from the 2008 election with McCain and Obama.
Probably.
And it's like the whole purpose of running for president was a diamond heist to like raid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, boom, baby. It's like,
Yes.
I think it would just be a really great short film where it's like the Biden family.
I don't
Like you make a show, it's people think it's like Veep, but Veep is silly. But the Biden family is more like degenerate, you know, like what's that one show about
House
the
of Cards?
No, the family in Chicago. That were like
Shameless?
Shameless?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like a bunch of degenerates and
Yes.
that's like yeah. You could call it Shameless.
I
in
didn't
the
see
White
that
House.
one, but South Park's been doing a pretty good job, especially on the trans stuff. They did a pretty good job on.
Dude,
just
they've been early on all of it
predicting some
too,
of that.
man.
Right,
Yes,
right.
strong
Competing with The
woman.
Simpsons on some of this stuff.
Well, the Simpsons are woke.
I meant for the predicting of like the future.
Well, no, I just mean
situations.
like the Simpsons predicting things ended 20 years ago.
Right.
You know, South Park still like
They've been like
you know,
5 years ahead of the curve.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Are they
Right.
predicting it, or are they giving it a green light?
I don't think they're giving it a green light.
No, I think what
wonder.
happens with you know, if you watch a show like Black Mirror, not so much this latest season because it's more of a horror series at this point than a sci-fi series, but it's just a thought experiment. It's a hypothetical, like what happens if X continues. So when we're looking at government, like you just ask yourself a logical question: if Hunter Biden is a crackhead, I'm sure a lot of people could have easily predicted we'll eventually find drugs in the White House. Hey, it happened. Now we're supposed to believe it was not Hunter. He's the notorious famous drug user. So look, maybe it's only a 5% chance it was Hunter. Yeah. He still has the dominant plurality of probability.
The narrative is already set either way. Like, it doesn't really matter if Hunter did have it or not, because it's not likely that there's going to be any kind of significant investigation. The people on the right have already made up their mind that it was Hunter. They're going to say it was Hunter and meme the hell out of it, even if
Kind of sucks that it wasn't
regardless.
him at this point because he's getting blamed for it anyway. So.
Right.
I mean, he's already, but look, there's video of him smoking crack on his way to Las Vegas to bang hookers.
Driving 100. No. Was it the same one where he was driving 172 miles an hour?
I think he was. I mean, I heard the crack in the car was different than the driving 172.
But does it matter? But the point that I'm making is it doesn't matter, because he was going to Vegas to bang hookers. He definitely smokes a bunch of crack. He's definitely had coke. So was it his? Was it not his? Who cares? Well, he definitely bangs hookers, smokes crack, and drives.
Also, probably end up in a place
it doesn't matter if it was his.
That is such a good point, though.
You know,
I think most of the American people probably just draw that conclusion anyways. It doesn't matter what the truth is at this point. They just say, okay, well, cocaine. Yeah, Hunter Biden.
It wasn't Hunter's?
There you go.
He still does all that stuff.
Right. It just draws attention to that.
Yeah.
You know, here's the thing about Hunter Biden. Like, we are all people who try to be, to a certain degree, virtuous, and we're like, how dare he drive at such a high rate of speed smoking crack? But there are people who do nothing but party and club, and they're like, whoa, like, he's cool.
I don't want people to think that I'm saying that I'm virtuous. I don't want that kind of responsibility. I've been in a band for too long. I have a history. No.
If you go to like the average person at a club on a Friday or Saturday night, and you're like, let me tell you a story about this guy who drives like 170 miles an hour while smoking crack and banging hookers, they're going to be like, damn. Like, who's this guy? Sounds like he can party. It's like the president's son. They're going to go, wow.
Is he really going 170? Was that confirmed?
I think, I don't know. Like, I guess.
I think it was in the
photo.
Does it matter if it's 140?
Was he really going? He was going that fast.
I mean, the point is, like, 30 miles an hour. Does it really matter?
Yeah,
I think no. Once you're up over 98, I mean, you're pretty much. Well, if you're over 120,
I think one of the most extreme differences is watching how the media reported on Trump's children and how intense. I mean, there was an article every single day about this. With Hunter, you don't say his name.
Dude, the Hunter Biden laptop.
They're even saying a Biden family member. It's like, like who's it going to be? Jill?
Right.
You know, we know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But nobody's saying his name. Nobody talks about him.
Yeah, here's a photo. It's
Dr.
August
Booger
1st.
Sugar.
August 1st, 2018 purports to show Hunter Biden speeding to a Las Vegas orgy.
What?
172.
So is this video taken by him too?
I guess.
So I tell you what, NBC, you're right. Maybe it's not his cocaine in the White House.
No.
All the other stuff.
But to be fair, for even this, like, it's a photo from his laptop. Most likely was him, but who knows? Maybe it was Devin Archer or somebody he worked with. Maybe it was Joe himself. Maybe, they shared phone numbers or emails or something like that.
And look, there's a lot of highways out there heading to Vegas where there's nothing around and there's no speed limit. So technically, he might not be actually breaking the law because it goes by like, are you driving unsafely? No, he had crack. No, he's definitely breaking the law. I'll stop with that one.
In Hunter's 2021 memoir, Beautiful Things, he admitted to crashing a Buick Verana while speeding through Palm Springs during another drug bender in October 2016. Wait.
Man, don't speed through Palm Springs.
In the book, Hunter wrote that he was high for 12 consecutive days before entering an Arizona rehab.
What the hell?
I mean,
12 days of Christmas.
A part of me, obviously, it's unfortunate seeing people struggle with addiction and all that stuff, but also at the same time, you have the Biden family that basically, I mean, if anything, they can pull this off, I would say, worse than, let's say this was the case for Trump or something. I mean, they sell themselves as the adults are back in charge. They're all responsible, good. Everybody says how good of a parent he is,
Who, Hunter Biden?
Joe Biden. They sell him like this good guy.
Yeah.
That's just marketing.
Blue collar Philly Joe, whatever.
Right.
Just one of the boys.
Joe Scranton.
Right. And this is just
hairy legs.
It's not a good look.
I got compassion for the drug addict.
Right.
I often do, but at the same time, if my military commander has a drug problem, I want him taken out of power. I want somebody else in command. And if the military commander has a son with a drug problem and brings him around to the military command spot, which is the White House, that's a big problem for me.
Or get some really, really high paying jobs as well and prestigious positions.
Or that drug addicted son is sending text messages saying, you better do it or else I'm going to tell my dad who's going to hold it
Who's
against you.
sitting right next to me right now.
Exactly. Like,
these are WhatsApp messages.
Can we make a show? Like, can someone finance a Game of Thrones style show called The Bidens? Because it would be a great TV show.
I mean, you could probably get if you didn't actually call it the Bidens, you might be able to get someone.
you
to
seen
make
the
it.
That's true.
Press of
Here's all right.
DC?
The West
hold on,
Wing was
guys.
a show, you know.
I got an idea.
Drama sells.
Show pitch. Okay, I'm talking like $2 million per episode budget. Where it was big deal. HBO. I hope you're listening. It's about a political family. They cheat in an election to win by having, people go in late hours and swap out boxes and stuff like that. Then once they get in, they start doing shady business deals to enrich themselves. Think about it's Game of Thrones in the modern era. It writes itself.
And
there you go.
dragons.
Yeah, just throw dragons in there. I mean, might as well.
Well, hold on.
Now we're talking.
But not dragons.
Nuclear
but
submarines, I meant.
Chasing the dragon. He's talking about
Chasing the
heroin.
dragon.
Chasing the
No.
dragon.
That's the name of the show, Chasing the Dragon.
Just literally
Dragons.
shot for shot remake Game of Thrones, but in a modern context, and the dragons would just be like warships and stuff.
Dragons
You know
are
what I
just A10s, brr. instead of fire, it's brr.
Wow, Chasing the Dragons, and it's a war movie, kind of, but it's about a corrupt political establishment that's entangled in some crazy war, and drones that get hacked that end up getting turned around on the homeland or something. That'd be wild.
And then what you got to do is you got to have like the guy who becomes president is this like decrepit, degenerate, Alzheimer's, out of shape and disgusting. And then his rival who gets cheated has to be this like tall, chiseled, and muscular blonde man who sells real estate. And
That's right.
Buys ice cream
That's
for
right.
people.
buys ice
towns.
cream for people.
Every season they find a way to make the leader just collapse on the ground in some creative way as well.
Yes.
Just every season.
Like he's on one of those like floor
You don't
things
know
that
if he's
move,
going
and
to
it's
be
like-
in the next season, but he is.
I want to play the
cliffhanger.
the Hunter Biden character in that. I think I could pull it off. It'd be like Jared Leto in whatever movies he does, where he's like all strung out, or
Yeah.
Memento. I think that movie was pretty good.
Yeah, you'd make
Are you
a
you
great,
looking to do like method acting?
You'd make
Yeah.
a
Blaze
really
a lot of crack.
Exactly. Now you're speaking
crackhead.
language.
You'd-
Yes.
So let's
Strung.
talk about what it means to be the left in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, from CNN, Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez supports Biden's re-election bid. Congratulations. AOC is an establishment shill. That's what you get. And of course, she's going to preface this a little bit with like, no, I'm saying like hypothetically I would if, yeah. This is how politics goes. AOC is this young upstart who's challenging the machine and is a real leftist. And as soon as she gets in office, she starts ponying up to the establishment. You see that video where like she changes her vote or something like that. It's been a while since like Pelosi yells at her and then her vote changes or something. I don't remember exactly. But here's the story because we want to make sure the context is clear. Democratic Rep. AOC said Thursday that she will support President Joe Biden's re-election bid given the challengers he currently faces in the primary. Author Marianne Williamson, an environmental lawyer, and anti-vaccine activist Robert F. Kennedy have launched campaigns. When asked on the Pod Save America podcast whether she would back Biden, she said, "I believe given that field, yes." Amazing. There's your leftist. There's your new up-and-coming progressive. I guarantee you, in a few years, she's going to start moving up. People have talked about maybe she'll run for Senate. She got millions of followers. She is going to be as establishment can be. She'll be coming out being like, stop insulting my banker friends. The people who run the Federal Reserve are good people trying to make America. She's going to be like Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
She's going to just say whatever she's going to say. So the press says something positive, and then she tricks people into voting for her. She's already basically there. Congratulations.
She's also super valuable to the political elite. Like when it comes to the establishment, her reach is insane. She's incredibly inspirational to a lot of young left-wing women. I mean, her audience is ridiculous. I don't know. Partially, you can probably blame a part of the right for doing that. But she's really, really valuable for them. So naturally, I think that direction they would give her as much power as she needs and all that stuff because they want her.
She's
a part of the establishment.
She's their actual Pied Piper in that she's playing that little flute and dancing all the progressives right into the hands of the neoliberal establishment.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So an interesting question because when AOC first won her primary back in I think it was like 2018, I said it was a good thing. I was like, good. Get these establishment Democrat shills out. Crowley was a prominent, like fourth in line in the Democratic Party or whatever. She gets rid of him. She takes over. And I said, she may be, a leftist or whatever, but I'll take a left populist over a corporatist, neolib shill and warmonger. And what does she turn out to be? All that and worse.
Term
So-
limits. And there's a problem is they go in there, you get co-opted. I don't even blame her. I blame the system itself. We need term limits because she should be 2 and out.
Yeah.
But you know what it is? It's AOC has nothing going for her. Does she have merit? Does she have talent and ability? To a certain degree, the answer is yes. But Would she be anything other than a bartender if she did not get elected? What we see with so many members of Congress and politicians is that they don't have the merit to do anything other than win the beauty pageant. And once they do, they're terrified. Look, if I don't win my reelection, what happens next?
Right.
Where's Madison Cawthorn? Right? He's in the news every day. He's got something going for him. He loses the primary, and now he's no longer relevant. So if you're someone who wants to be, who wants to matter, and you don't have the ability, politics is your game. And then what happens is they get in and they're like, okay, I can't lose this. Nancy Pelosi probably goes to AOC and says, we will do everything in our power to make sure you lose unless you play ball. Do you want to be the up and coming young star of the Democratic Party? Or do you want to go back to the bar? And she's like, please, Nancy, I'll do anything you say. And here you go.
I know Matt Gaetz is, I don't know if they're friends or whatever, but he's mentioned to us that he would enjoy having her come on the show with him at some point and have a debate.
DeSantis' people won't even come on this show.
He actually mentioned Ilhan Omar specifically multiple times.
I remember that.
And so they have a bond of some sort, probably because they're young and in Congress. They're like all this Freedom Caucus and
maybe they've worked together a little bit as well. I would be shocked if she actually said yes.
I'd be really happy about it. But
that'd be great.
I'm just thinking of ways to head it off at the pass before 20 years go by and she is fully establishment, scary, like mob mentality.
She endorsed Biden a year and a half out. Come on.
Yeah, but she, with a caveat that at this stage, with those two people that he's running against, I would.
What's her opposition to RFK?
I don't know.
Well,
that's how you know that they're full of it.
If Newsom does announce too, she would go Newsom for sure.
Yeah. The thing about RFK is, I disagree with him on a lot of things, but he's more populist. He's speaking to the people, and so it's like, oh, okay, I get it. For her to be like, oh man, I'd rather have Biden. Are you kidding? You'd rather have Biden? Come on, warmonger, establishment. Come on, man.
Yeah.
I would take Marianne Williamson over both of them, to be completely honest. I think she's very nice.
Oh, she'd be a good guest.
Hilarious.
She's cool.
We've invited her several times. Yeah. She's actually very, very nice. I have a lot of respect for her. I feel so bad for how the media mistreats her and how people make fun of her. That's unfair. She may be wrong about things, as most people are, but she seems to be a genuine, nice person who really does want to make a difference. I think we would all benefit from having that conversation with her.
And she set the record straight about crystals. She doesn't actually own crystals.
But this is
I do.
But this is how they play. Look, they called her in the media the crystal woo-woo lady. Yeah. And it was so sad to see her be like, I don't understand. I don't own any crystals. I've never done anything with this. Why are they saying that about me? It's like, welcome to the political arena.
Yep.
Oh, now, Marianne, I'm a fan. Everything bad they said about you. Now think about what you think of Donald Trump. Welcome to the same game. Donald Trump is far from perfect, and we know he said some nasty things. But when they come at you and they say you're the crystal woo-woo lady, think about what they call Donald Trump and how it's not real. And then people come out and they're like, but a court found that he was responsible for a rape 30 years ago. And it's like, dude, spare me. Your ultra-liberal New York district ruling that a 30-year-old case with no evidence, it makes him responsible. It's just, it's political nonsense.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game.
Yeah, it's always interesting seeing people actually wake up. Usually, I mean, I don't know if they fully get out of it, but her seeing how she was treated by the media and just kind of putting that, or if she was on the show, definitely putting that into perspective with her to say, look at what we're dealing with. You dealt with that for just a brief moment. We deal with that, the right deals with that every day, right? This unfair treatment from the massive media machine.
Tulsi Gabbard's another one that had that big time. Just a
for sure.
splash in the face of like, what am I up against?
Totally woke up.
When they she called out Kamala Harris and basically tanked her opportunity to become president if she ever even had one.
But it was before that. It was Bernie.
Yeah. They called her a Russian asset.
No,
she's like, dude, she's like a colonel in the military.
They viewed her as an up and coming young star for the Democratic Party, and then when it came to Bernie versus Hillary, she said Bernie, and they were like, you've just ended your career.
And now she's like a entertainer, basically.
Remember how she called out Hillary Clinton? She called her like the ultimate warmonger, the queen of warmongers.
Right.
She like just absolutely.
I think she called her something worse than that, right?
Yeah, she excoriated her. I don't have the actual quote right in front of me, but she absolutely excoriated her. It was one of the most brilliant one of the most brave political things that I've ever seen anyone do. Someone actually running on the Democrat ticket, calling Hillary Clinton.
It was queen of warmongers.
Yeah, queen of warmongers. Literally just tearing her apart. And after that, when I saw that, I was like, look, she got terrible takes on the two-way, but I back her if she's going after Clinton, you know?
See, this is what I like, right? We did the Culture War show today, and we had Stephen Bonnell. Is it Bonnell? Is it Bonnell? Bonnell. Destiny. He's a liberal guy. Even after the show, we were hanging out and we were having disagreements. But Destiny is an honest guy. He could be wrong about something sometimes. We all are. But I know that if we come and have a conversation, he's actually going to try and make a point that he thinks is true and honestly assess what we are saying to him. Then you have the actual cultural left, which is people like AOC, who will just lie, cheat, and steal for political power. You have people like Tulsi Gabbard, who was being honest in what her views were, and probably wrong on some things, same as most people are, but was being honest to you on why she thought those things and was genuinely listening to you. It's almost like the culture war factions. We always try to define what they are, but I can tell you one characteristic at the very least is if you hold leftist political opinions, but tell the truth, you're right wing. Plain and simple. Yeah. That's how it goes. I was actually talking with Destiny about it. He said it was funny that, when we do these shows with leftists, they make the assumption of what my political opinions are because in their world, if you don't follow their narrative, you're right wing. So they'll say things like I'm pro-life or something like that, which is like, I'm like, none of these, like these things are not true. You don't know what my opinions actually are. These people make things up. I mean, come on, like what it would take to endorse someone like Biden. You know what I mean? And for that matter, I'm seeing a lot of that with the DeSantis people as well. I'll have a conversation with people who support Trump, and some people are fervently culty for Trump, and it is kind of creepy.
Yeah.
But most of the prominent Trump people will absolutely concede Trump's faults because it is the authentic and appropriate way to approach the conversation. Hey, you don't like this thing about Trump? Let me talk to you and maybe convince you that there's still some net positives here. The DeSantis people, it's like they're just identical to Democrats. No matter what DeSantis does, he is infallible. He is unimpeachable. So DeSantis makes a mistake, and they will say it was actually a good thing.
I wonder if the people you're talking about when you say the DeSantis people, you mean like people that are following?
Well, and people in his campaign.
Hardcore followers on Twitter, maybe.
I wonder
that, yeah.
I wonder if what they're doing is it's like an AI or a foreign agent sowing dissent between DeSantis and you because you have a show and a voice. So if they see some contention, they're going to be like, "Oh, I'm going to make Tim angry," and be like, "DeSantis is great, you moron!" And then you think that it's DeSantis somehow connected with that.
It is
insane response. Well, there's no way to know.
No, I do because they have verification badges and profiles that say working for the DeSantis campaign.
Those then maybe, but
that's who I'm talking about.
That seems like a pretty big giveaway.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when I say something semi-innocuous like, wow, I can't believe this thing happened, and they start just attacking me on Twitter, I'm like, what? Why are you attacking me? And so it's you get the point. It really does feel like they are very much like acting as Democrats do towards Trump.
Yeah.
It seems to me like they have like a book of rules that they've written out and studied, but they don't really get the nuances of why the rules work, but they're just following them all, expecting them to be, to make them cool in that way. It's just like we all see it's not working.
Yeah, it's like it's a list.
Right.
And you got to check every single box. And if you differ, such as Destiny, who probably differs a lot from a lot of people on the left, you're kicked out of that cult. When it comes to the extreme left wing, if you differ at all, you're completely out. Tim, I was talking to one of your viewers the other day. I just ran into him in the street. Libertarian kind of guy, disagrees with people on the right, disagrees with people on the left, but he was talking to leftist protesters, gender, cult protesters. And he was just saying, he was just asking them some basic questions, and you might agree with them on some stuff, but they were just calling him a fascist and telling him to get the hell out of there, even though he might have agreed on some things.
Oh, yeah, because it's a cult.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull this up from Predict It, and we'll talk about Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis' polls have been on the decline, and his shares in the prediction market have declined around 30+% over the past 30 days. I believe that Ron DeSantis is an excellent political leader in many, many ways. And what we've been seeing over the past 30 days has been very, very bad for him, which requires a course correction. I'm a fan. But his campaign's failures and the people who surround him have been so bad, I question whether or not he's actually fit. Let me show you this from Predict It, and we'll talk about what's going on with us and DeSantis and the desire, I guess, from DeSantis supporters for there to be drama and for DeSantis to lose support. So over Predict It, you can take a look at basically how this works is you can buy a share of a candidate. They're called contracts. And who you think is going to win. Donald Trump is at 56 cents. That means if you buy yes and he becomes the nominee, that share is worth $1. So you'll make 44 cents. Ron DeSantis is at 23 cents, and he's declined quite a bit. When you take a look at the 30-day chart here for DeSantis, he peaked on June 9th at 35 cents, and he's dropped down now to 22 cents. So it is going down. Vivek Ramaswamy is popping up. This is the example I want to give. To say this to the DeSantis campaign, you guys need to listen to the criticism and course correct. Because right now what I see is DeSantis supporters are so fervent and they're behaving very much like Democrats to the point that if Ron DeSantis makes a mistake and everyone surrounding him just says he's right no matter what, he will lose support. And that is what's happening. Which brings me to the story that happened just a few hours ago. Let's talk about the DeSantis campaign. Many of you may be familiar with a video that went viral where chanters in New York were saying, "We're coming for your children." Many of you are probably aware, and some of you may not be, that was filmed by Alad Eliyahu, our field reporter, who was specifically contracted to film for Timcast News. That footage is property, copyright owned, and licensed out by Timcast News for use. A lot of people have used it without permission, and there are questions about whether or not they should have done that. That ultimately falls to Alad Eliyahu, who retains the rights for licensing outside of Timcast to certain degrees. We have an arrangement with him. So it's going to come down to whether or not he believes that we have to pursue these things. The Ron DeSantis campaign took the video, 9 seconds of it, wrote "paid for by the DeSantis for president," and started texting it out to people. It's not an ad. It's literally just the clip that from our Twitter that we published and we own. I did not go to them screaming like I did speak with people associated with the DeSantis campaign. The first thing I did before any communication happened is I get hit up by a bunch of people saying, "Did you sell this footage to the DeSantis campaign because I'm seeing this thing?" And I said, "No, we didn't." I then have to talk to Elad because we have an arrangement where he gets paid essentially a percentage based on licensing. We want him to make as much money as possible when he produces these things. We want to promote him and support his work so he gets that money, not us. If someone comes to me and says, "Hey, dude, you license," I'm not saying this would happen, but this is what you all need to consider. Someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I'm supposed to get paid when you license this footage out. This thing says paid for by DeSantis for president. Did you sell that footage and not tell me because you'd owe me money if that was the case?" I'm more proactive in that. So I said, hey guys, no, like we didn't do this. What do? I tweet, "We did not license this footage to Ron DeSantis' campaign." All I tweeted. That's it. I did not say, "How dare they? They stole from me. Ooh, they owe me all this money." I said, "We didn't license to them." Then people started attacking me saying, "You're stupid. You're a moron." People who write for various conservative websites, high profile individuals and lawyers with millions of followers, people associated with Ron DeSantis' campaign, saying I was stupid. I was a moron. I was an idiot. It's not how it works. How stupid is Tim Pool, et cetera, et cetera. These are not random people. These are high profile personalities who support DeSantis. And I'm sitting here confused like, yo, all I said was we didn't license to him. And so I tweet again. I'm like, people aren't getting it. They tweeted out our video, just our video, nothing else, saying paid for by DeSantis for president. They're lying. They did not pay for this. And then people start claiming, "How dare you?" They're saying that they paid for the ad. I'm like, it's not an ad. It's just our video. They're tweeting our video to people and with the tag on it, paid for by DeSantis. There's no context. There's no statement. There's nothing added to it. They wrote, "We're coming for your children," which is the quote from the video, with paid for by DeSantis. It doesn't say, "This is a commercial for DeSantis for president. We're seeking your approval. Here's a clip you should watch." Nothing. It's literally just our video. All I said was they didn't pay for it. The absurdity and the insanity that I see here is, for one, you tweet at me all day and night about how I'm stupid or whatever. I don't get the point. Do you want me as DeSantis supporters to go onto my show and just insult his campaign? Because all it does is generate hatred and animosity between someone who otherwise should be supporting DeSantis. How about instead of screaming and shrieking like banshees, you simply just say, "Hey, we're going to reach out to you and, what is your ask?" So I actually reached out immediately after like I'm getting hit up by people who are like, "Hey, they're using this footage without credit, without attribution." And there's actually, so like we have lawyers, there are questions about whether or not a political campaign can fair use news coverage without attribution, and my understanding is they cannot. Even they can't make fair use claims. I didn't attack them. I didn't scream at them. I was like, "Hey, look, man, I got people hitting me up asking me like if we sold this to you, because if we did, I'm gonna end up owing money to people. So I don't like that you guys are saying paid for by DeSantis if it's just this clip." And they're like, "Yeah, no worries, man. Like we'll sort things out." Totally fine. But these people online, these high profile influencers support DeSantis, it seems like they're trying to burn his campaign to the ground. All they're doing is trying to make, like, it's like you were saying, I guess, Ian, I would agree with you to a certain extent. It's almost like they're Trump supporters pretending to be DeSantis supporters to hurt his campaign. I tweeted that I would ultimately believe it, except some of the people who have been coming at me in the past literally do work for his campaign. So all I can say is that that's where we're at for now. But the bigger picture here, outside of the personal context with us, is the fervent zealotry in support of DeSantis is going to sink him. His polls are down. His predicted market stuff is down. Yo, if something happens that makes DeSantis look bad, he needs to be realistic and personable and address it in an honest way. And that's how he wins. But the course that they've taken over the past 30 days shows exactly why the prediction market is showing a decline, exactly why his polls are dropping.
Yeah. Did they at least use a watermark on that?
No. So,
just cop the footage.
There's a lot of questions about it. Some people are like, Tim said he wants everybody to have it the other day and he didn't care. And I'm like, there's a difference between my opinion of this should be seen by everybody, that's why we do it, and I have an arrangement with a contractor who retains rights over that footage outside of what we want the footage to be. That has to be answered for. But even then, I'm like, we're going to talk with Elad and see how he wants to handle a lot of these things. I'm not here to pick fights with everybody and just insult him. But there is a legal precedent, my understanding right now, just for clarity's sake, for the people who are saying it. When you see political campaigns and it shows like a clip of a news anchor saying a thing, they show the title of the segment or the date and the publication. They have to attribute it when they do these things.
Right.
And they certainly did not. The other thing people need to consider, so I can explain fair use to you guys. News organizations are largely exempt from claims in this manner. There is varying degrees of arguments on fair use. Okay, if you produce a news segment as a news organization for the purpose of monetization and licensing, people can't just take it and use it. However, if it's embedded on Twitter, you can use that embed in your articles, and that's what people do. You cannot download the footage and re-upload it to your organization. And some organizations that we like, conservative ones, have done this. And yes, we have been in discussion of we're going to request licensing fees for that. So, it's like, how do we be reasonable people in support of those who would spread around news that we want them to spread, but also make sure that, I'll put it simply. If an independent reporter covered this footage, if Elad was working by himself and did not work for us, he would have made substantially more money. We cannot have a reporter work for us who is in the end making less money. It makes no sense. So as an independent reporter, he has the license to this. He can go to anybody and say, you owe me X, you owe me X, you owe me X, you got to pay. And he'll get it. As a large organization, we front the costs of the trip so that he reports under our brand. However, for what reason would he have to do that if he's just going to say, but then I don't make any licensing fees? No, we respond with, we'll let you retain licensing fees, and if we license it out, we'll send that your way, but we get effectively the brand recognition. Right. So the important factor here is it's not fair use when the footage is produced specifically for the purpose of licensing and for news reporting. There's other arguments about if someone writes an article or references things and you're commenting on it directly, totally understand and agree. And these things have to be adjudicated. A judge will determine whether or not it was fair use or not. Fair use is 100% always copyright infringement. It's just whether or not you'll fall under the exemption. Well, just to be clear, just my final thoughts on this. I am not saying my demand is that DeSantis should have paid me for this. That is not what I'm saying. That may be Elad's position. All I'm saying is people came to me and asked me if we sold this to them because it says on the video paid for by DeSantis. I understand people are saying political ads reference who it was paid for legally, and they're not saying that video was paid for by him. I am saying it is creating confusion in the marketplace, and so all I did was issue a statement to clarify, as I'm supposed to do, and I'm getting attacked by DeSantis supporters for it.
Yeah. And the clarification's incredibly reasonable. I would say probably a lot of the backlash is just people being completely ignorant to the entire process of paying for flights, sending out a reporter, going out there, getting it, all this stuff. Fair use doesn't just mean somebody can spend all that money and you can just cop it and put it on your cable news network without any credit at all, without paying anything like that. And I know you said it's not about the money there, but I think a lot of people don't understand all that goes into getting this footage and then having it reasonably credited as well.
I'm personally not super concerned about credit, the money and stuff, but that's not my rights. Elad retains those rights to a very large degree as per our agreement with him, which means if he's seeing stuff he's produced be sent far and wide, typically on his own, when he reports, he sends an invoice like, hey, I own the rights to this. You got to pay for it. Now he's operating under our banner. That doesn't change. So if he says he wants licenses for this, it's not whether we want it to happen or not. It's whether he does. And I think he's a reasonable guy. So no one's trying to start fights or anything. I don't want to harp too much specifically on that point other than to clarify it. My point in the bigger picture is for the people who really like DeSantis, please look at the replies to my initial tweet so you can understand exactly why his polls are dropping. It is an absurdity for me to be like, we didn't license his footage out, and then just have high profile people with 1 million followers effectively, just insulting me for no reason. They could have been like, thanks for the clarification, Tim. That's it. Instead, they're just creating threads, insulting me like crazy. So I'll tell you this. If your goal is to get me to really dislike his campaign, okay, I guess. But simply put, my opinion on Ron DeSantis is not predicated upon what his fans do or say, but the people associated with his campaign, who have also engaged in what I would say is detrimental behavior to his campaign. But if I fear the reason why his polls are dropping is because he's surrounded by people that will defend him no matter what he does. They'll keep telling him he's right no matter what he does. When the video, let's do this. Let's jump to this story and we'll talk about this one. We have this from Timcast.com. Gays Against Groomers official resigns following DeSantis ad slamming Trump's previous LGBTQ support. I stated this very clearly. I think Ron DeSantis does deserve credit on going after the weird grooming stuff and targeting of kids. And to a great degree, that criticism of Donald Trump is to a certain degree fair. I do think it is unfair to categorize Donald Trump's support of your average LGBT person as the same as what Ron DeSantis is fighting, which is groomers. So there's a point to be made there. But ultimately, there was backlash. Ron DeSantis ended up getting flack from log cabin Republicans. We now have David Leatherwood announcing his resignation from Gays Against Groomers because of the ardent support the organization's leader has for DeSantis. This has been not good for DeSantis. The DeSantis campaign has been very divisive on many of these issues. And ultimately, my point is DeSantis then goes on Tommy Loren's show, doubles down on all of this. And the result is increased backlash. Ron could have come out, clarified and said, maybe we're a little strong. I don't want to conflate groomers with LGBT American citizens who want to live their lives. Instead he goes, no, it's totally fair for me to do this. Trump did this. It seems like he's not getting good advice, that people aren't explaining to him like, hey, you have a large coalition of people who are LGBT who support Donald Trump and will support you because they may be gay, but they don't like the groomers. Don't ostracize the people who do like you. But Ron goes for it anyway. And it results in stories like this. I think he's listening to sycophants and it's hurting him. And it's tangible. You see it in the polls.
Yeah.
So what can we expect? We expect him not to win the primary?
Do you think that because Ron is looking to attack Trump from the right, do you think that the LGBT issues are going to be something that he's not going to be able to get a broad message that his campaign and his base will accept? Because I feel like whoever is going to be the Republican nominee needs to at least tolerate LGBT people, like gay people and probably trans people to some degree. Obviously, it needs to be prevented from being, instructed to kids, and needs to be taken out of school curriculum. And you don't want to have
the grooming stuff.
Yeah, the grooming stuff. So it's the political stuff. But do you think that DeSantis is going to be able to lock that kind of stuff down without alienating LGBT or gay people?
I think that's pretty easy to
it's not that it's hard, but will he be able to?
If he's attacking from the right,
do it? Yeah, if he's coming from the right,
If Ron DeSantis is adamant on attacking Trump from the right, he'll lose. That's just it. And I think that's largely what it is. We were talking about this downstairs. We were hanging out, Seamus, Destiny, John Doyle after the show, and we were talking quite a bit about it. And I'm like, what we're seeing here with the Trump versus DeSantis is DeSantis really does represent the old guard Republicans who are angry that Trump stormed into their party and took over, and they see an opportunity with DeSantis to win it back. Unfortunately, it would seem that to a great degree, many of them lack the tact to pull it off.
Yeah.
So the zealotry, the anger, the I can do no wrong attitude is exactly how you end up losing this internal conflict.
Yeah, when you're working against Donald Trump, if you want to defeat Donald Trump in an election, think of him as a non-Newtonian fluid. If you're familiar with these, it's like cornstarch and water.
Great analogy.
The harder
yes.
you hit it, the more solid it is. If you go slowly, you use heat, you can push through it like a liquid.
That is a hard 20, Ian. You rolled a 20 right.
That's amazing.
I see it exactly this way. The response from the DeSantis campaign has been full force as hard as possible, and they're hitting a brick wall. But if they went slowly, they'd slip right through. If their response to a lot of these campaigns was a lot of these issues was just pure authenticity, directly assessing the issue, talking to people about their concerns and clarifying issues, DeSantis would be defeating Trump in a prediction market.
One way I think that he could, in one second, is that, Phil, to answer your question, can he pull it off? Can he get the support of the LGBTQ plus community? Yes, if he reminds people, straight people can be groomers too. I'm here to prevent grooming of children. I don't care who you are, what your sexuality is, where you came from, what colors you love. I don't care. Don't groom these kids in my schools. That's, I think, the message, because you gotta push against the straight people too that are grooming. And
how look.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I perhaps the issue is DeSantis believes he's in it for the primary, and that's all that matters, which means screw the moderates. What he's ignoring is that. And maybe they're trying to recapture neocons into the Democratic Party, I suppose. I can't imagine how that would make sense, because a lot of these Lincoln Project people have just embraced leftist values. Donald Trump brought moderates into the Republican Party. Vox.com called Trump a moderate. So, of course, Trump came out in support of LGBTQ Americans, said gay marriage was a settled issue. And that was like a year after gay marriage passed, like right around this time. So Trump absolutely attacked the Republican Party from the left in a lot of ways, and it worked. He brought in many people who typically wouldn't vote Republican, who did. With the help of individuals like Scott Pressler, the Republican Party was able to bring on more registered voters than the Democrats in some states for the first time ever. The idea that you're going to go back to how the Republican Party was before and attack Trump from the right is a huge mistake. What I was saying about DeSantis a year ago, the opportunity he had was to be nice Trump, to talk about the same policies in the same way, but be tactful, youthful, and energetic. Instead, it seems like he's taking the harder right approach, which I just see as not viable.
Yeah, I think
well,
most people,
maybe I'll be wrong.
Most people see him as like doing a fantastic job in Florida. Of course, a lot of people praise him for that. He did a fantastic job. However, this so far from what we've seen him interacting with the public and everything like that, I think he's surrounding himself with maybe not the best people. I'm not going to totally generalize, because I'm sure he's around some great people, but yeah, just not the best team. And then also the campaign, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it just seems like a glorified version of low energy Jeb.
yeah,
I mean, it's like nothing about it's exciting, nothing about it.
I don't like that. You know, a lot of people keep trying to pull the Jeb card on DeSantis. I disagree.
He's way better. Don't get me wrong,
but it's just the campaign is more rabid than that.
Yeah, it seems like he's trying to use Trumpian tactics, but he's not Trump, and he doesn't get that he's not Trump.
Yeah, and he can't
And,
quite
like,
pull it off.
Yeah. And the opportunity was to not be the aggressive Trump, but to have Trump's policies.
Now he's the mean Trump.
And now he's like just attacking Trump, and look, it's not so much the campaign, but to a certain degree, people associated with the campaign. But for the most part, it's his base, whatever he's cultivated for whatever reason, are sycophants. He does something wrong. What do they do? So what? And I'm like, well, that's not what I'm not interested
My
in that.
personal
and to be
feelings-
fair, Trump is very, very similar in that regard. It doesn't work for me.
100%.
My personal feelings to win an election is you make your opponents irrelevant. They're not the focus of your campaign. If you're talking about them, you're giving them free publicity.
Right.
This is what Hillary did to Trump in 2016. She kept talking about Donald Trump and how horrible he was, and kept giving him fuel. And
Perhaps
now
that's-
DeSantis is doing the same thing.
Perhaps that's the goal. The DeSantis supporters want these stories to exist so that his name gets mentioned more, I suppose. I'll show you this. Over at the predicted market, Vivek Ramaswamy, take a look at this. Entered the contract June 28th from 3 cents. Now he's currently at 8. Vivek is now in 3rd place in the prediction markets for the Republican presidential nomination. He bypassed everybody. That's impressive. Tim Scott even. This guy's not a politician, and he's a young guy.
Yeah, as soon as people hear him speak, just even for 10 seconds, oh, who's that guy? I like that. You know, they love listening to him. So I think just the more people hear his name, hear him speak, everything like that, that number is going to continue to skyrocket. What he's saying is really resonating with the American people.
Yeah,
for sure.
his message, and regardless of what actually happens for where he lands in regards to actually running or whatever, just him being a part of the conversation and the topics that he brings up, which make the other people that are running at least be marginally informed, which is one of the things that I want a lot more out of Trump. I want Trump to understand the policies that he's talking about, because I feel like a lot of the policies are written by other people and he just kind of is the guy selling them. And so I think that it's really, really good that Vivek is a third and is going to be on the stages.
He's really concerned with getting money out of like BlackRock and putting it into indexes that don't invest in woke stuff or don't invest in ESG particularly.
Yeah,
right.
I don't know if there's going to be stages.
Oh, you don't think they'll do?
Why would Donald Trump debate Ron DeSantis?
Clicks, baby.
It used to be that you wanted a large platform to spread your message. We got it. Social media, don't need it.
Yeah, I agree, man. 2006, I agreed with you. That old age of debate on a stage with the point, hold on, like the moderator doesn't do anything anyway. That's done. It ended in 2006 with internet video. Now,
man,
one
Trump
video
in 2015 was something special.
Yeah, they
15,
didn't end
16.
in
Those
2006.
debates were something special.
It was amazing.
No, well,
absolutely amazing.
CNN
Vivek would probably do pretty well in something like that. But still, I mean, like you said,
So Trump
Probably
will
not.
call him Ramaswamy. That I did not come up with that song. I can't remember. I'm sorry. I'm not giving credit for the person who came up with that. But to be honest, he
bad.
keeps calling Ron DeSantis DeSanctus, and it's the stupidest nickname ever.
DeSanctimonia, Ron DeSanctus.
He calls him DeSanctus now.
DeSanctus? Well, the reason I say
It's not.
Things changed
It's not working.
like drastically in 2006, and I was speaking internet video. I was making YouTube videos about it. Like now we have the technology for world leaders to communicate without Secret Service present through Skype. They can talk directly to their constituents without Secret Service present from their bedroom any time of the day. And CNN was like, oh, hell yeah, let's do the YouTube CNN debates this time. So in 2008, CNN got their fingers into it, and they had very carefully curated videos from YouTubers that they would give to the people campaigning Obama, Hillary Clinton. And I asked one about the Federal Reserve they didn't use because they were carefully, it was CNN, curating it. But you could see that CNN was on their heels. They didn't know how to respond to this new political populist uprising and new technology, and they still don't. If they think that, they didn't even have debates for the last election. They didn't even debate. Mm-hmm. They didn't even debate. What, the first time in American history that Biden did he even debate once? I don't.
No,
Yeah.
they didn't.
The Democrats?
Yeah,
They debates. What do you mean?
They did. Yeah.
But the Republican
debated.
Democrat
Did he?
they wanted
debate?
more. What they did too.
They had
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, there was one. I
had
remember
one.
being super surprised about Biden being as on as he was, and I was almost like in disbelief because he
Oh
was,
yeah, there was. Okay.
But like,
I thought he was sleeping.
To think that 3 debates is enough is like such an antiquated mentality. They should be every week. If there's 2 front-running candidates, they should be for the betterment of people, of all of us, of humanity, talking every week
Weren't
in
you
public.
just a couple minutes ago saying that it was good that there was not going to be any debates, and now you're saying that there should be debates every week?
Well, no, I was saying that the methodology of debate has changed drastically since 2006, since internet video appeared. So, like, we don't have to wait till they get on stage on Thursday at 8 p.m. and they'll all clap together. Like, the video's online forever
Because
now.
they're talking smack on Twitter back and forth.
And they can Skype. They can debate over Skype. They don't need to even be in the same room now, so it's so easy to do.
Oh, it's hardly the same thing, though. We really need to see the debates.
I'd rather see a Skype debate than no debate, but I agree with you. Having them in person is important.
Are there people that actually make up their minds after watching a debate? Like actually waiting for a debate and then saying, okay, I'm going to vote for that person? Are there actually
yes.
people that do that?
Yeah. I think it's only slightly different these days because of the internet, because you've heard the messages, because the
heard
news
it,
has been
you've
more
seen it.
ubiquitous. I got to be honest. Does anybody think DeSantis can handle a debate with Donald Trump?
I don't know. I don't imagine that he could, personally.
I think he would do okay, but to
don't
answer your
think so.
question, no. I don't really think anybody can, not even the moderators. I mean, he's tough to hammer down.
Yeah,
honestly.
we made this point when we were watching the primaries back in it was like 2020 with the Democrats. Andrew Yang's mic got turned off, and you see him just kind of like mouthing but not doing anything, and they're like, "Oh, whoops!" And I was like, if that was Donald Trump, he would lean over to the other person like, excuse me, my microphone is off. You got to turn it on. I need to say it.
I think if you're going to beat
That's so true.
if you're going to beat Trump in a debate, you need to ignore him while he's bloviating and while he's trying to insult you, just be like, this guy, and then keep talking about what's important and just let him be like flames in the background from the friction, like it's, but if you turn to him and start playing his game with him, you lose.
Because he's the best at it.
Yeah, you don't engage with it.
I don't know. I don't know about not engaging with it. You need to understand how to counter.
Dismiss it, yeah.
To deflect, to parry.
I think people just have no clue what to do when he's in that zone. Because not only is he just coming after you left and right, but he also oftentimes has the audience kind of interested. Everybody's honed in on what he's saying, on his jab.
Captivates the room.
I'll tell you this. It's not a debate. This idea of a debate where it's like two people say, like, let's discuss the merits of, U.S. intervention in Ukraine. Well, I think the problem here is, but we have a treaty here. Like, that's a debate. Being on stage to win political power is a show. One of the greatest shows on earth. Yeah. And Donald Trump wins the debate when he makes you laugh at his opponent. Mm-hmm. So you can go on stage and Donald Trump can talk about, we're going to have the best tax policy. It's going to be very good. And then Ron can come out and be like, look, I'm leading this comeback and I think I did a better job. Nobody cares. It's when Donald Trump says, DeSantis is a little bad. He's a meatball. You know what I mean? Look at him. He's a meatball. Everyone starts busting out laughing. And they're like, yeah, he's a meatball. Like, I'm not gonna... That gets the vote. That a lot of people want to believe that the American voter is above that. But most are not. A lot of them are. But you got to understand this. George Carlin said it. Imagine how stupid the average person is. Now realize that half of them are stupider than that. So if Donald Trump is looking at a voting base of, potential, let's say 175 million voters he got before, he's looking at a total voter pool of around 150, 200 million. He knows that 100 million of those potential votes are going to be people who are going to laugh about Meatball Ron. And he does not need the smarter people's votes because voter turnout is low. Donald Trump needs arguably 70 to 80 million votes in the general. Now again, I know, slow down. Primary is a bit different. Same principle applies. He can sit there and be like, I can make the best argument in the world and win over the top 10% of the bell curve, or I can make a joke and win over everyone from 51% and down.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about that because you could go the hard, emotional gutting of Donald Trump if you really want to play dirty, like talk about his daddy issues. His dad didn't love him. His dad was like a businessman that just treated him like a commodity.
But you got
you could hurt him emotionally.
Yeah,
but is that the way?
But you got to win the hearts of the people too. Like everyone's going to be turned off by that.
Yeah, but look at him. The reason he's lashing out is because his dad didn't love him, and then the crowd's going to be like, oh, and then Donald's going to start getting red in the face. And that is why he's lashing out.
If it's too dirty, it's not going to win the hearts of the people.
You've got to be honest.
You've got to be funny.
It's truly why.
You've got to make people feel good and in a way that makes you look dominant. So when he was like low energy Jeb and Jeb's like, everybody starts busting out laughing. And they're like, yeah, Jeb is low energy. Look at him.
It's still funny.
It makes Trump the bigger man in their mind. It makes them feel good at the same time. And they're like, we need someone like that to push people around for us.
Yeah, someone that can fluster somebody. You can fluster Donald too.
Well, also you have all these people
but not in a way that makes people like. I'll put it this way: there are many people who could roast Donald Trump and get it done right. Ron DeSantis is not that guy. Vivek Ramaswamy is not that guy. Tim Scott is not that guy. Nikki Haley's certainly not that lady. I don't see anybody in the Republican field who's going to have the ability to make people feel like they're strong, they're good, and Trump is diminished at the same time. Trump has that unique ability. He hasn't done very well in the past couple of years. In 2020, he could have done way better with Biden. He did a bad job with it. That's why I said 2016, 2015 was something special with the primaries and with Hillary. Will we see it again from Trump? Maybe it's out of him. Maybe he's not all there. We've seen a little bit of it come back. But I'll tell you this right now. Wherever Trump is currently at in terms of his showmanship, DeSantis is nowhere near. That's just reality.
Yeah.
And if they get offended by that, DeSantis supporters, if DeSantis campaign, if they can't handle that critique, then they deserve to lose. If they listen to what we're saying and right now begin to work on that specifically, they will win. Perhaps.
Yeah. I think one problem with Biden that Trump had, and if he stays in, that everybody's going to have with him, is he's a really hard guy to make a jab at, because like we were just talking about, something that makes people laugh, it's lighthearted, all of that. It's tough to make fun and successfully deliver a jab at a grandpa with dementia. It just doesn't look that good. It looked a lot better when he did it to Hillary Clinton, but not to Joe Biden. People kind of feel bad for Joe Biden. I really think they do. I really think they do.
I think Donald Trump should have gone after Biden more so than he did. I think he did a relatively bad job in 2020.
I mean, yeah.
Sleepy Joe.
I think the Sleepy Joe, all that's great, but I just don't think it resonated as well as it did with Hillary. She was a lot more on her game. So when she gets shut down, it's way funnier than some guy that can barely speak.
And she's nasty.
And
Yeah,
she's
she was kind of snaky.
Yeah.
So when Trump makes fun of her, people laugh.
That's a big factor there,
I still think Trump should have been like, "Oh, crazy Joe. What's that story, Joe? You're touching little kids, you're touching your legs. Man, gross. It's creepy and weird."
You're right, Tim. It is a popularity contest, and it's an entertainment game, which is terrible. It shouldn't be that way for the commander-in-chief of our military.
It's been that way since TV was invented.
Like
and,
radio, yeah,
No,
really.
TV.
Well, Hitler used radio, but I guess they had.
It was because the thing I'm talking about is when Nixon and JFK did their first televised debate. If you listened to it on the radio, people were saying Nixon won. If you watched it on TV, Nixon looked like a mess. He didn't shave. It was 5 o'clock.
Sweating like crazy.
He looked bad, and everyone said that JFK won. So the way that people see you, like the way you look when you're actually in the debate, it goes far beyond just the words that you say, and that speaks to the way that we communicate more broadly. People don't just listen to the words; the look on your face matters. If you're looking in the eye, all sorts, smiling, all sorts of things. So when they're debating, those things go into it too.
Trump's funny, man.
He's
It's tough to
hilarious.
He is so
when I went to the White House for the social media summit with Bill Ottman, I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was going to be like a kind of like a round table thing. What was it? Trump doing stand-up. I'm not even kidding. He's got all of these influential people sitting around him trying to talk about the issue of censorship, and he's just up there speaking about it. But it was like, it was political humor. It was political comedy. It was him talking about the political issues and then snapping jokes and looking and laughing, and the room was just laughing nonstop. Yeah. That's how the dude commands an audience. That's how he wins. You gotta look. You can talk, you sit here all day and I'd be like, policy is the best way to win the primary. It's like, good luck with that, dude. Good luck. Yeah. But I'm not saying Trump still got it, though. We'll see. It's yet to be seen. Yeah. Maybe, because if he might not even do a debate. My understanding is he's probably not going to do a debate with DeSantis. And that's good news for DeSantis, but maybe Trump can't handle it.
Yeah. I wonder if they totally realize that for his campaign, Trump's campaign, just because you know how often he's been going to restaurants, buying everybody food, what are the blizzards, ordering everyone blizzards, all that stuff. I wonder if they see that really working and resonating with people, because you get that guy in a crowd, and like Tim's getting at, he's going to perform. He's going to perform. As long as he has a crowd around him, people are going to love him.
I feel like he hasn't stopped doing rallies yet. Like since the last time he was president, I feel like he's been out there.
There was a period where he was gone.
Okay.
Yeah. And then he's come back, and now he's been doing rallies, and they've been funny.
Man, it does feel like the only way to defeat that kind of debate is to really go at his personal life, like really hurt his feelings, and I do not like that.
But it's got
to. You said defeat him in a debate. You said,
if you want to make him look silly and debase him, make him off balance, you make him remember his horrible childhood.
The problem is Trump weaponizes self-deprecation. This idea that you're going to insult his family and win support is wrong. Trump calls Jeb low energy. He doesn't say your father was a scumbag who, like he said, he said George W. Bush, your brother lied to us. Like, that's not the same as saying like you are an abused child who was neglected, and that's why nobody loves you, because people go, dude, come on, low blow. He's like, you're low energy, Jeb, low energy, and people are laughing, and they're like, he is. Please clap. Come on.
Well, you could call him low blow Trump. Like, that's his tactic, is low blows.
But see, the issue is
the delivery really matters as well. Nobody delivers like Trump does. So you can get a jab in, and that's great, and it can be spicy, but you're not going to land it like Donald Trump.
But it's not. I don't think it's going to work. Right? What can you insult Donald Trump on?
His age.
He's old man Trump is and you know what he's going to do?
Raspy,
he'll say
withering
he's a
voice,
vibrant young man.
No,
his wig, or whatever, his dyed hair,
perhaps,
his orange skin.
You keep saying that, and
tan.
I will tell you you're wrong. I'll tell you why, because you'll be on the debate stage and you'll say, "Listen, old man, with your moosed up coif, weird raccoon haircut," he'll be like, "Certainly better than your hair," and that's saying a lot.
You should call him Drain the Swamp Trump.
And they'll say, "You're an old man." I'll be like, "Aging like fine wine, better than you. You're like milk."
So go after him about how he drained the swamp. Drain the swamp. I can help you, Ron. I can give you.
I keep seeing this episode of SpongeBob.
I appreciate it, but Tim is spot on.
Trump.
On that. I mean, he'll deflect. He's a professional.
Trump made fun of him.
He's also 80.
Trump made fun of himself for being orange. He was at a rally famously, and he was like, "The lights, they're making me look too orange. It's not fair." And everyone busts out laughing. He knows how they insult him, and he uses it.
Yeah, but
When
no
he
one's
goes-
ever going after him with his relationship with his dad.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's not funny. It's not funny.
It's not. It's
You
meant to
keep-
hurt his feelings.
And it won't work.
make the
you
other
keep
guy look
bringing that
bad.
up, but like, what? I mean, how do you know that is something?
Fred
that's gonna-
Trump,
Yeah, but I mean,
business magnate. He
Trump.
just-
Okay, just saying. What do you? What,
Trump
you're-
over and over again. They wouldn't shut up. It had zero impact.
Yeah, like what?
if Donald Trump's going to play dirty and insult people, then you better expect you got to get creative and insult him. I mean, it's the only way is to hurt his feelings. And it's also entertaining for
what
people.
What makes you think that is going to hurt his feelings? I mean, that's
'Cause he
I
hasn't
keep
thought
hearing-
about it in a
I
while
keep
and
he-
it's true?
How?
Wait,
Your
can-
magic. How do you know what he's thought about? Like, I'm trying to figure out like how it is
the
that
New York
you're-
Times says
you know-
someone's familiar with his thinking. So
What was that?
The New York Times has written many articles about people familiar with his thinking. So.
that's what I'm coming from. It's like I feel like you're making these assertions, but I don't know where you're basing this opinion of Trump's internal monologue or his internal like sense of self-worth. I don't know that
I've read that
if
his
anything, he
dad
has a-
would bring him to work and insult him in front of people.
And what's going to happen is that's not funny.
It's not meant to be funny. It's meant to be entertaining.
And that's the reason Trump succeeds is because
I don't know if
he
I'm sold on
is
that.
funny. Get it?
Well, he's entertaining. He's also a
funny.
dirtbag sometimes.
He's hilarious.
to
He
some
comes
people.
out,
Other
he
people,
makes
he's
jokes,
disgusting. You know,
everybody
but it's entertaining
laughs.
no matter what
right.
you say.
So he's looking to win over his base. You're not going. Ron DeSantis is not going to win voters by being this nasty guy to insult a person.
You do it very gently. And you move on, man. You just let it resonate.
Has anyone seen that episode of SpongeBob where they're like doing this talent show and Squidward's out there doing this crazy dance and no one is clapping, but then SpongeBob goes out there with a broom and he's sweeping and everyone's like going nuts? That's what reminds me of. Kind of like he might do something, he might say that, and then people would just be like, "You're kind of a jerk, dude."
Yeah, we're assuming that he would have a strong, solid delivery. He would deliver it kindly.
No way.
It would be a disaster. One, because they sold Joe Biden or whoever you're talking about here as being just a kind person, not Trump. And then what? He comes out here with a nastier jab than Donald Trump, and he's
I'm
going to
talking about Ron
deliver it.
DeSantis. I was talking about a DeSantis-Trump debate. That's what I've been talking about the whole time.
Imagine.
Sorry. Yeah, DeSantis. Well, I guess same thing applies then. So if he's going to deliver that, and that's like, okay, get tough on Donald Trump and be mean to him, and that's all great. I don't see the benefit of really, really, really being nasty to Donald Trump when you're trying to win those voters. Keep in mind,
It would be a jujitsu tactic in that only if Trump went at him personally or comes at me or comes at someone personally, then you maneuver it to cause him emotional pain. And then you just continue on and let him shake, you know?
okay.
They all tried coming at Trump and nobody could pull it off because this is Trump's arena. The idea that you're going to insult him and win votes over is just it's absurd.
I mean,
that's
Republican
his
tried
exact
it
tactic.
I know.
during
But
the debates.
Trump- it's
There was
like
10 of them, and they all tried
Yes.
doing this.
Yeah,
Y-
but
yes,
that's
yes.
how he insulted Jeb Bush. He insulted Hillary Clinton. He insulted all
And
of
there
them
are
at
MMA
some point, I
fighters-
think. Didn't he? Chris Christie did.
There absolutely. And there are MMA fighters who are undefeated. And you'll say, well, their tactic is to use, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, so you got to use it against them. It's like, oh, that's funny. They still lost.
Oh, I agree with you that there are no capable performers in the political arena right now. Maybe AOC. Maybe
one?
Donald Trump's by far the most entertaining, whether you like him or not.
Fast, witty, funny, and in the right way.
Maybe Vivek Ramaswamy is way smarter and faster than Trump. He could rip
Vivek-
that guy to shreds.
No,
You know
look,
what? He might.
on policy, yes.
I think
but
he would
not
be-
in humor.
He's a
I think he would actually
billionaire,
be
man.
better if we're talking about just a quick jab against Trump. I think he would probably be better than DeSantis, maybe.
Agreed.
But
Who would
I'm
be?
just
Vivek?
throwing.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, I think he would actually be better at it. Yeah.
I want you just to imagine this for a second. Donald Trump on stage, and he says, we look at Ron DeSantis. Little Ron, I call him, his policies no good, disloyal. And then Ron goes, Donald Trump's father didn't love him and would ignore him, so daddy issues over here has a terrible time of understanding. Everyone's going to be like, whoa,
No,
dude,
you say it directly to his face. You look him in the eyes and tell him,
and
it's
people are going to
hardcore.
be like, boo, dude.
Yeah, they're going to be like, and then it'll go viral, 60 million views.
Trump's going to do something
Ron
where he's
DeSantis
like,
will get 10 million more votes. This guy's a boss. He's willing to stand up to Donald Trump.
I love how these things were tried and all failed, and you're like, they'll happen now. It's like,
well,
okay.
no, I don't think it'll
my
work,
problem
but
is there's all with what you're thinking is that you've got all this assumption and there's a lot of like you're telling this narrative about if you do this, then this will happen, and the possibilities are almost infinite after step one. Like everybody's plan like runs into reality and then it falls apart.
Yeah.
And you're making so many assumptions
the reason
about
I'm like-
what you're thinking he's going to do and what people would do and what DeSantis could do. And just there's a lot of like you more telling a story than actually thinking about something that's realistic to try to navigate.
Everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face.
Yes.
I've had some experiences where I've had
The enemy
like
gets a vote.
friends in the past that would make fun of me, or one guy in particular, and I was like, stop, and he would never stop. And then one day I was just like, your dad did not love you, and you turned into a real asshole, dude. And he stopped out. He was like shaking after that, and he never messed with me again after that.
You were talking to Trump?
No, I was talking to my buddy, and his dad really did abuse him when he was mean to him when he would call him names and stuff. And I'm like, that's why you act like this. And he stopped after that.
For how many years?
I also had a person that would smack me, and I was like, if you do that again, I'm going to smack you back the exact same way. And it happened again, and I did it, and then I never got smacked again.
Was he much bigger than you?
It was a girl, actually.
Oh,
and she never smacked me after that.
I-
She was hurting me, so I was like, please stop. She wouldn't stop.
Ian, for years, they called Donald Trump Drumpf to insult his father's grandparents, etc. That did
No,
nothing.
the tactic is when they insult you, in the moment, right away, you strike back in a way that makes them
Okay.
out of the moment.
Let's
They're trying to-
imagine this.
They're trying to throw this guy in prison, and we think this is going to be the thing that's going to take
I mean,
him out.
realistically,
they're trying to do
they're
that
not
for a
going to let
reason.
him win.
just I want you to imagine Donald Trump calls Ron DeSantis Little Ron. Little Ron is disloyal, and then Ron immediately turns to him and says, "Your father didn't love you." Everyone's gonna be like, "What?"
If you did it like a stodgy suit, yeah.
But
if Trump cried or something, then
It's
I
not
could
gonna
see
happen.
what- yeah,
Trump's not gonna cry.
You can see his
To
body
Phil's
language
point,
change.
It would depend on that.
It'll
yeah.
deflect off him like body armor or something.
It does.
Like
Trump
it'll
will go-
it'll deflect
it
and
does.
it'll be nothing. I mean, we can talk about it all we want.
Trump's response is going to be something like,
gonna work.
Ron will look and say, you know, your father, he didn't love you, and it clearly shows. Donald Trump will start laughing. Go, look at little Ron over here trying to come at my family. It's sad. Really, is that the best you've got? He's going to completely bounce off him, and then he's going to be like, the only thing DeSantis can muster is insulting my dad. How sad, disloyal, not even loyal to people's families. It's exactly what you'd expect when you vote for DeSwamptis. Blah 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 blah. Like, my point is this: Ron does not have nobody. It's not about Ron DeSantis. Like, no one in that field of, what was it, 16 GOP contenders could do anything to get anything to stick to this
It'd
guy.
be like Rogan. If Rogan did it to Trump, Rogan could humiliate Donald Trump. Louis C.K. could humiliate Donald Trump.
But
People
you don't
like that.
get it. You don't
We
get
don't
it.
have a politician like that.
you don't
I do agree with you
Ian,
there.
Yes, he could humiliate Trump, but in terms of what Trump is working on and fighting for, these things don't work against his base. They don't work against those who would vote for him.
Oh, I disagree. I think they're cultists. I think they go where the hilarity is.
No, listen.
They go where the funny.
He's a cultist?
Ian, look. The story
a good
I
percentage
told,
of his followers
the story I told
are
over and
just
over
looking
again.
for entertainment.
Yes, the story I told over and over again. My experience traveling this country during Trump's first campaign and his second campaign, were people saying, "I can't stand the way he talks. I wish he would stop tweeting." The average person who voted for him was not in a cult and did not like his brash attitude. Insulting him and the way he insults others does not work.
I mean, it hasn't happened yet.
It's
And
just,
I think
you
it's
know-
a bunch of 4chaners that want entertainment. They put him in office because they thought it was funny. It was a Lulbert move.
Well, I mean, obviously that's not the case of who put him in office. It's not just a bunch of 4chaners.
It was a lot of memes on 4chan that got him elected.
No,
not solely. You're right, but there's a lot
No, it
of
was
like goofball kids that were disaffected and were making fun of the whole thing.
No, it was a lot of Americans that were sick and tired of being called racist every single election for the last decade, and they wanted something to change, and they were seeing Republicans doing absolutely nothing while they get screwed in every direction. That's why people voted for Donald Trump. It wasn't just a bunch of 4chan trolls.
It's certainly not monolithic. It's a bunch of what you're saying and what I'm saying. There were
He was,
definitely kids like Nick Fuentes that were like, he would say like he thinks Hitler is funny because when he grew up, he's so disenfranchised by everything. He just looks at what triggers people and he's like, I'll do that because it triggers.
I see what you're saying, but that extreme part of a base that you're talking about is much smaller than I think you think it is.
9 million Obama voters voted for Donald Trump. They switched from the Democratic Party for Donald Trump.
Those are like the people that want
if you
entertainment.
think you're going to win a general by attacking those individuals, it ain't working. But let's do this. Let's get cultural, and we'll wrap up on a cultural segment. We have the story from the Post Millennial, and it's good news. Left-wing media seethes over success of anti-child trafficking film Sound of Freedom. The movie tells the story of Tim Ballard. All of you know it. I'm a big fan of the film. It was absolutely fantastic. I recommend that you check it out. But oh boy. Reports from left-wing news sites Jezebel and The Guardian have tried to discredit the hit release Sound of Freedom, linking it with conspiracy theories. Do we have the tweet from Jack Posobiec here? Let me show you this one. He says, in plain sight, Rolling Stone says, Sound of Freedom, the QAnon-tinged thriller about child trafficking, is designed to appeal to the conscience of a conspiracy-addled boomer. And then there's, from Rolling Stone, thanks to a major marketing mistake, the award-winning French movie Cuties was accused of sexualizing young girls. It's actually a sensitive portrait of growing pains that deserves to be seen. That's who these people are. They're groomers. Yeah, Sound of Freedom is doing really, really well. And of course, we're seeing leftists get absolutely upset about it. But this is good news across the board because it shows that we are winning on cultural grounds. We're winning on in the arts. It's not about conservatives winning. It's about people pushing back against the creepy woke cult establishment garbage.
Winning as a whole or just getting a win?
Winning as a whole.
I just watched this.
If you look across the board, right, you can argue that the left holds, let's say you have a country and there's like 12 battlefronts, 12 counties or jurisdictions, and the right only controls 6 of them. They're winning that fight, gaining ground and spreading. Even if the left holds more institutions, they are losing control of them.
Fair, and I didn't want to sound too negative right there. I was just curious of what you were talking about.
Bud Light, Target, Starbucks, Sound of Freedom.
For sure.
Oh,
for
boy.
sure. No, I mean, we're definitely on the offensive move right now when it comes to people that just are sick and tired of the like woke elite that dominates all these institutions, all of that. I do have to admit, I haven't seen the movie yet.
Well, it just came out.
I am going to watch it. And I do know, is it not based on a true story?
It is
the Mormon guy.
True story. It's based on a true story. There's some embellishment in it.
FBI? Am I getting this right?
Homeland Security.
Homeland Security.
I think it might have been ICE. I'm not sure.
In X, right? So he got out of it.
He
and then
quit because he wanted to save the kids, and he couldn't, working for the government.
Right. So based on a true story, and that appeals to QAnon conspiracy theorists. I mean, they just thought of that, and they said, okay, this is what we can do to get the general population away from this movie, even though it's performing really, really well. I mean, it beat out Indiana Jones on its opening day, right?
Yeah, Indiana Jones had opened over the weekend, and then it was a Tuesday that this movie came out, but it beat it on that Tuesday. So it made like 10.8 million, where Indiana Jones made like 10.7 or something like that. But Indy had already made 80 million over the weekend.
Right. That's still, I mean, it's still doing fantastic, obviously. But I think that they really just wanted people to kind of not dig into that story. Well, and that's not the first time I've seen them bring up QAnon. Rolling Stone, they weren't the first people to repeat that narrative. It's a QAnon movie.
Yeah, I've seen it all over Twitter already.
Right.
Like a bunch of people are talking about making some kind of connection to QAnon. I don't think that the average person, I don't think QAnon resonates with the average person. The people that have about 15 minutes to watch the news a day, 20 minutes or whatever, they watch a little bit in the morning and a little bit in the evening when they're doing their life. I don't think QAnon, I think they hear that and it's in one ear, out the other.
Yeah, it was only because of outlets like this that I knew what QAnon was, because I heard it thrown around by people tweeting stuff like that. I'm like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
panic.
Was anyone talking about why Disney held on to this movie for, what did they have the rights for, like 5 years? I believe it was already made.
5 years.
Is that correct?
Yep.
For Sound of Freedom?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was made 5 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
oh wow.
And, I can make some assumptions as to why it couldn't get released.
Let's hear it.
Because there are groomers in Hollywood and pedophiles in Hollywood. And you make a movie about ending child trafficking, and you'll end up with some Hollywood executive being like, oh, harumph I say, but what about what I want to do when I fly down there, right? So let's just say based on what we know from some individuals who produce documentaries about Hollywood, the trafficking, the abuse, hey, let's talk about Elliot Page, who claims to have been assaulted in this industry. Yeah. They made a movie about child trafficking being bad and wanting to end it. And then the big networks were like, the big studios were like, we shouldn't let people see this. I'm going to go ahead and make an assumption as to why that is.
Yeah.
I was just watching RFK Jr.'s interview with Lex Friedman on Lex's channel on YouTube. And I saw about half of it, but at one point RFK Jr. was talking about Operation Mockingbird, the CIA taking control of media in like the 60s and 70s. Then they were ordered, I think it was a church commission where they're like, you got to stop. And they're like, okay. But RFK was like, I don't think they really ever stopped. And he was naming outlets that have been co-opted by the CIA or that are assets
Daily
with
Beast.
the CIA. Daily Beast was the first one. Then he mentioned Rolling Stone magazine.
Yeah.
Right away. And then I see Rolling Stone's the one that's trashing this
Ever since the 2012 NDAA was signed, the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act was in the NDAA, and that made it legal for the federal government to propagandize the American people. After World War II, the Smith-Mundt Act said that the American population cannot be propagandized by the federal government, and it was in response to what they had learned that the Nazis and the Soviets had done leading up to and during World War II. And the federal government, the people were like, look, the federal government shouldn't be making decisions about what the people think, right? The government should be a reflection of the population, not the population a reflection of what the government wants. And that's borne out in the way that governments have treated their populations when their population doesn't act the way the government wants them, or doesn't behave the way they want them to. So the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act was in 2011, and ever since, the narrative coming out of the mainstream media has been the exact narrative that the Democrats want. You had all of the time that Barack Obama was the president, basically setting up this apparatus, and then when Donald Trump was elected, the deep state, the entrenched bureaucracy, it was already in place, already prepared to discredit anyone that would try to pull back the power from the federal government. And obviously that's the conservatives. If one of the parties is going to make the government smaller, it is not going to be the Democrats. I'm not trying to convince people that the Republicans are going to be good or they're going to be, small government or anything. That's not the argument that I'm making. But the federal government has been propagandizing the American people in conjunction with Rolling Stone, Teen Vogue, Cosmopolitan. And again, this is something that I brought up on the show before. You will get the same type of stories in Cosmopolitan, in GQ, in Teen Vogue, in Good Housekeeping, and maybe not Field and Stream, but I wouldn't be all that surprised, because there is no significant difference in opinion, because the narrative for almost all of the mainstream is the narrative that the federal government wants to be presented to the American people. That's the way that it is, and that's the way that I see it now.
Amen, brother.
Teen Vogue praising Marx.
Yeah.
I love it. It's hilarious.
Did that actually happen?
That actually happened.
What did they say?
They were talking about.
Was it like a month ago, right?
No, it was a long time ago.
Oh,
years ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was
they
thinking about
put out an
something else
article on like Marx was misunderstood or something like that. It was actually really, really funny. It's kind of scary, but funny at the same time. Teen Vogue, it's like young women getting fashion advice and information on supporting the proletariat and overthrowing the elites and the.
Is this from 2018? Karl Marx, the famed philosopher and author of the Communist Manifesto,
Can you
turned
imagine?
200 years old.
Can you imagine calling Goebbels a famed philosopher? Honestly, Marx is responsible for millions and millions and dozens of millions. His ideas were responsible for dozens of millions of deaths in the 20th century.
At least the word infamous. They should have said the infamous philosopher.
No, because they're supporting him.
You know what? I'm going to take a stand. Infamous is not enough. Infamous is not enough for me.
Yeah, he's a terrible guy too.
Overweight.
When you guys were talking about it, I almost chimed in. There's a lot of
infamous is how you describe Al Capone, not somebody whose ideology was the reason for dozens of millions of deaths.
Tens of millions of deaths all around the world.
Yeah.
And it was just the idea that everyone deserves a little bit.
It was the idea that man can be perfected, because you cannot have a utopian society where everybody works and puts in and produces equally and gets out from the government equally. What the plan was to remake man into new socialist man that could be considered a socialist man, that is a social being. It was a very popular idea in the late part of the 18th century, I think it was 19th century.
19th century.
But it was Nietzsche was talking about it too, because he had he wrote this
Ubermensch.
Yeah, the Ubermensch, the Overman. Thus spoke Zarathustra was the book. But the idea was that Darwin had put out his Origin of Species, and people were learning about evolution and starting to understand that. And the idea was we had conquered religion, and man now could understand science, and we could use science to remake man into the new man that's the modern man that doesn't need all the old the old ways and the old religions and stuff, and it just ends up with people dying en masse because you can't make people not people.
It sounds like you're talking about transhumanism.
Transhumanism is
kind of aim for that, yeah.
It is an extension of the same type of ideas, but the point the point of socialism is to have a socialist world, like a communist world, where nobody has anything more than someone else. So the abolishment of class, right? So the abolishment of property, so that way no one has more than someone else, and everyone has equal things. But the problem is people have different capabilities. People are born with different attributes. People are taller. People are slower. People are faster. People are they're infinitely different. So to think that people are going to be able to put in and take out equally is ridiculous. So the effort to make people equal, the only thing you can do is take from the people that succeed, hold people down. Because if you've got a person that's incapable of doing something, right? That's incapable. You can never make them capable. You have to find the people that are capable and take away their ability.
Easiest way to explain it is you can't make the grass grow, but you can mow the lawn.
Yep. That's perfect. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's what they do. So cut off the tall grass. We're going to go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, become a member at timcast.com to support our work directly, and of course, buy coffee from us at castbrew.com. I got to say, I think it is some of the best coffee, if not the best coffee I've ever had. And, it's easy for me to say because we did the formulation for it, as I often say, but I really do think it's good, so support our work. All right, I'm Not Your Buddy Guy says, I think we can all agree the left is far more extreme than the right. Now that the right seems open to separation, I wonder what the left with their lists want to do. Interesting. All right, we'll grab some more Super Chats. Voice of the People says the federal involvement was exposed with the Proud Boys case. 50 plus federal informants were found instigating, and judge told the jury they can't use that information to make a decision. Interesting. Waffle Sensei says, Tim, in regards to the video from Timcast News that Ron DeSantis said he paid for, it was paid for. Ron DeSantis paid the editing guy to overlay paid for by Ron DeSantis on it. That's actually the argument they are making. High-profile individuals with tens of thousands and a million followers are saying that the edit to put that on it was, in fact, what they paid for. And I'm like,
no.
Come on.
Yeah, because if I paid for a billboard and put your picture on it and said paid for by me, that would be so disingenuous because I didn't pay you for that image. I just took it and used it.
But it's like, it's just our video, and it says paid for, but like, it's just our video. Like, what do you, like, what? But that's the argument they're making. They're like, well, by adding the text that he paid for it, it is officially true that they paid for someone to do that. It's like, okay, dude.
Yeah,
very circuitous. Like, there's no commentary on it. There's no, like, there's no statement about it. There's no commentary whatsoever. There's not even like a gibberish. So one of the arguments about fair use, this guy took photos from people on Instagram, blew them up into big portraits, and then wrote a comment underneath that said like HS, 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 like nonsense. And a court ruled it was fair use. It was fair use to, in fact, do that. Despite the fact it was not really any words or thoughts, the argument was that was commentary transforming the piece. In this instance, by all means, you can make the arguments because people often, like, you'll always make an argument on fair use. They'll always have to. The point is, they didn't even do that. It's literally just our video, and it says it's a text of what the people said, and then it says paid for by DeSantis.
You know what it reminds me of is the real Donald Trump ad where it shows fake Donald Trump, but it says real Donald Trump, but it's AI generated images.
That's
it's just
the thing.
Misleading. And this seems like it's misleading because they didn't pay you for the clip.
And then the response on the deepfake thing was, you think people actually believe that was a real photo? Do I believe? I know people believed it was real. I'm not saying I did, but they're being disingenuous. And they're like, that doesn't mean that they paid you for it, Tim. I'm like, yes, but people think it does because they're texting me, asking me if I sold this to them. So I hit up the DeSantis people and I was like, hey guys, why is this happening? And they're like, oh, whoops. Yeah. So my conversation with the actual people who work there were like, let's try and figure something out. I'm like, cool, appreciate it. But the people online are insane. So it's really funny how like the end result might be that they reach back out to me and say, Yeah, we'll clarify for you, man, and we'll send a license your way or something, a license fee, and then I'm like, cool, really appreciate it, thanks for the support, and the people online turn it into this nightmarish, psychotic attack. It's like, okay, make yourselves look worse, I guess.
Right.
All right, we'll grab some more super chats. What do we got? Based Jew says, I've been watching your skating clips on Instagram, and damn, you have that thing called diamond feet. What is that, diamond feet? Just a couple of clips. We were filming the other day. I did a no slide 270 shove, but it's like 120 degrees. I'm not exaggerating. Literally 120 degrees inside the barn.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yep. It's just an oven, and so it's like whenever I would try and do this trick, because I've been trying to do a bunch of things, but it's brutally hot to try and skate in there, and that's our indoor park. So I'm like, we got to figure. It's not insulated, so we can't like put AC in it or anything. But in between attempts at the trick, I would have to go outside to breathe because the air was so hot, I couldn't breathe. That's how bad it was. I'm like, you gotta figure that out.
That's not the half pipe room.
No. That's
No.
downstairs, and that's cold.
There's AC.
I'm
in
still
there,
seeing
yeah.
everything.
I saw James
first time
dropping
out
in
here.
on the skate park on Twitter. Real
Yeah.
James Klug.
That's right, man.
Oh, yeah?
That's right.
It's hot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Drop the small ramp, but
Oh, cool.
Yeah, dropped in successfully.
That's
Didn't do
nice.
much else other than that, but
Nice.
I
So
was
you didn't
proud,
die.
I was proud of that.
That's doing a thing, not dying.
Stay
I
on your
didn't
feet.
die. I didn't die, and I put a helmet on too. Just
Smart.
Yeah,
Smart.
you gotta. Yeah.
All right, Crooked Smile says, Tim, why the hate for Final Fantasy 16? Was it the gameplay or the story? Please no spoilers, though. The story is the most basic, one-dimensional kind of boring thing, and it's nonsensical. It's like, honestly, it's just really bad. And gameplay. What gameplay?
Wasn't it mostly a story?
It's mostly cutscenes.
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
I'm not kidding. Like the first part of the game, it's a dejected storyline, timeline wise. So it's a bit confusing in that regard, and it's mostly cutscenes. So mostly cutscenes, and then the most annoying thing is like in typical video games, you have the main quest, and then you have the side quests. Final Fantasy 16 has side quests, but they also force you to do side quests. So there are quests in the main storyline that are absolutely side quests. They make you do, where it's like you have to run back and forth between two people 5 times, and I'm like, why? And it's just like, hello, Clive. I would like to tell you about what your father once said to me, and I'm like, okay, skip. Then it's like, okay, I must go talk to this guy now about the same thing, and then you run around the building and you find the guy, and then he just skip. Then it's like, now I must go back and report to Otto what I found, and I'm like, why?
I don't want to make a video game like that now just for fun.
That, and you play one guy, and I'm just like, man. So people are saying, yeah, but it's action. It's not turn-based anymore, dude. Secret of Mana was action RPG.
That game is so good.
I know, and you switch between one of the 3 characters you have, and you can have them do abilities, and it's real-time fighting. There have been a ton of games that are real hybrids of real-time and turn-based with multiplayer, multiple characters. This game is just you go into a fight and you just mash square, and then you mash square in R1. That's the whole game the whole time.
Final Fantasy is really known for a ton of cutscenes, though, right? Like it would be maybe a quarter of the game or half the game, even possibly. Is this one just over the top as well?
I think this one's over the top, and it was funny because people were like, "Tim, you're in story mode." I am not in story mode. Like I'm playing Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West. So Forbidden West and the expansion Burning Shores came out. I love that game, and it's got a bunch of woke elements that I think are really just annoying. But it's like a good game. How do you defeat the bad guy, like the monsters? In this game, it's like, well, they're giant robots, so they have weak spots. You got to knock armor off. You have different weapons of different elements. It's rather complex, and you can formulate different strategies for how you do it. I totally love going for the sharp shot bow, which is like sniper play style. When I play games like Fallout, I prefer sniper builds over aggression builds or like tank builds or anything like that. Final Fantasy, it's like there's one sword you get. You never spend any money. There's no point in having money at all. None. So it's just like, I beat a boss, I go to the forge, upgrade sword. That's it. The only thing you ever do. Sword up, like you get item from boss. The story is so incredibly weak.
I just went to look at gameplay footage while you're talking, and the first 3, I just clicked around randomly on the video, and the first 3 I went to were all cutscenes. And there's another cutscene. Cutscene. Cutscene.
I'm not going to spoil the game.
Cutscene.
But
Another cutscene.
I could have, like, I still think it's really weak, but I feel like I could have written a better ending. Because and that's not saying a lot. I'm not saying I'm a good writer. I'm saying the ending was so incredibly one-dimensional, comic book villainy to like golden era of like, I'm the villain again.
It's like
you're like, okay.
what's happened at Disney. It's the same company name. Square Enix is a company that it's Square and Enix. They've merged at some point, but it's not the same people that worked there in 1993 that made Final Fantasy 4, Final Fantasy 6. These epic, world-changing games. Final Fantasy 7 was like one of the greatest RPGs ever made.
I think I still have one for the Super Nintendo.
6, but they call
Chrono
it 3
Trigger.
in the United States.
And I have Chrono Trigger actually as well.
No, it was a similar guy. That was
Yeah.
the same company, Square. That was before they merged with Enix, I think.
Yeah.
Chrono Cross wasn't as good.
Secret of Mana was multiplayer.
And then
That was one of the great. It was like this.
someone else could control the other player.
Yeah.
And then they, I don't think Seiken Densetsu came out in the United States, but that was the next Secret of Mana. There were multiple games. I think we only got one. I like Secret of Evermore was very similar. These are action RPGs.
This is all SNES, right?
That's
you're
right.
saying? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The
All
other
the
stuff you're
old
talking about is
games.
probably on Super Famicom.
Yeah, because they didn't come out in the United States, but
Yeah.
we got them. Because I love Secret of Mana so much.
You got the ROM.
All right, let's read some more. We got Soul Native says, Phil, have you heard Anne Boleyn's new EP? It's beautiful and gritty. Steven has such a unique voice, and I would highly recommend it. Great work, Tim. No Luke, I puke. No Hannah Claire, I burn my hair. Well, all right. Have you heard the new EP?
I have not heard it, but I'll take a listen. Anne Berlin's a good band.
Right on.
Cool.
Let's grab some more super chats. What is this? Luke MP says, Tim, please shout out my neighbor, Nicole Howell's GoFundMe. It won't let me share a link. She's been battling cancer, and they are struggling to pay medical bills and their rent. God bless. Love you, Ian.
Oh,
Let's see. I'm going to look this up. Nicole. Hopefully, I'm trying to type it in. Nicole Howell. GoFundMe. Let's see if I can find it. Is it Nicole's medical and everyday expenses?
Nice.
Perhaps. I just think, you never know because there could be like
Oh,
a
yeah.
bunch of different people. But I searched for it and it says she has breast cancer. And I don't know who this person is, but I'll probably donate to them anyway because they have cancer. But yeah, shout out. Hopefully, look, guys, this is kind of why I'm more on the universal healthcare camp of things because it's like, I just don't think the, hey, I'm dying, GoFundMe to support me is the way we should handle it. But I understand it's a fair point that this is a private market where people can choose to support someone if they want. So forcing people to donate isn't the appropriate approach. But I kind of lean towards like, I don't know if, like someone's dying, so we go to GoFundMe to try and save their life is the right way we handle things.
Also, a lot of these companies in the United States, they're using us to make their money so they can give negotiated and affordable prices to other countries as well. So we just get the short end of the stick in every way, shape, and form.
Yeah, why should GoFundMe
I'm
get
open to
paid
a
because
conversation.
someone's got cancer?
Yeah, you think like the
I'm
American
always open to
Medical
that
Association would have a donation process or something like that at this point.
I mean,
Like
maybe
no fees,
but
or the American government would like.
the thing is,
allow
like, it
for-
doesn't matter what the thing is. GoFundMe's taking 30%.
No, they don't take that much.
Is it that? Is
Way
it not?
less.
Is it way less?
Depending on what it's for, I believe they take a smaller percentage,
Okay.
if any
All right.
percentage at all. So if it's for
Outstanding.
cancer treatment, I'm pretty sure they have something for lower.
I don't like
Stand correct.
GoFundMe as it is.
Give, send,
Give,
go.
send goes the better one.
Yeah.
Stand
They
correct.
take 2.9% plus 30 cents.
And some of that's unavoidable. So like
Well,
even
They
for
used
us
to charge
and
5%.
with our members, like there's no matter what you do, they take a
Yeah.
cut is taken by credit cards. Excuse me. Drew Outstanding in Field says, God's children are not for sale. Hill I'm willing to die on. Hear, hear.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying about the movie Sound of Freedom is like, even if you're an atheist, you understand the concept of what it means to say God's children. The idea that the media is like, this is a Christian film. It's like, dude, you don't need to be Christian to understand the concept of God's children just means in general the children of the world, the children of humanity. I understand Christians probably mean it much more literally, but I'm saying like the ideas in the film don't need religion behind them for us to agree that they're bad things. But apparently for Rolling Stone and a lot of these companies, man, they're creepy people.
Well, how many religious movies as well get the stamp of approval from all these elite media companies and Hollywood and everything like that? I mean, how you could be listing that off for a day, but for this one, I think it's particularly offensive to them just because of the issue that it's focused on.
Yep.
I don't know.
Well, I think it infringes upon their predilections.
Right.
So we can't. Hollywood can't be. Someone commented like Tim's waking up or something in reference to me saying this, and I'm like, dude, I'm pretty sure everybody knows for like a very long time that Hollywood has been abusing children.
Yeah.
Like these accusations have been around for like a decade or longer, probably, but they've been prominent for around that long.
How old is Corey Haim?
Right.
Corey Haim's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
50,
I
dude.
love that
Seriously,
guy, dude.
50.
I'd love to have him over.
Let's grab some more super chats.
Feldman.
Corey Haim is
gone.
dead. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Corey Feldman is.
But I sasaw that when Corey Feldman put that documentary out. I paid to watch it. Fucked up.
We'll grab some more here. H Music 197 says the best part of Karine Jean-Pierre's statement is that the Biden family left the White House at around 6:30 p.m. on Friday. So when she's like, they're not here on Friday, it's like, well, they were most of the day. It's just lies.
It's all just lies.
Yeah.
All right. Sevi Rose says, my conspiracy theory. Since it's cocaine and not crack, I bet Jill Biden asked the Secret Service to plant the cocaine in the White House just to see how Hunter would respond.
Dr. Feelgood. Jill. We can call her Dr. Feelgood now. Dun, 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 dun,
Andrew
dun,
Ho
dun,
says,
dun,
Dan
dun.
Bongino gave a great short breakdown saying it had to be a protectee to bypass security in the White House. He should know, being Secret Service on presidential detail for Bush Jr. and Obama. Exactly. Because I was saying this too. I was like, someone who doesn't need to go through the normal screening process, and I'm just some guy. Then Dan Bongino said basically, I'm like, hey, look at him. He knows better than me. He was actually there. So,
Dr.
take his
Feelgood.
word for it.
Yeah.
Where are we at?
Also, if they're changing their story like 3 times before you get any level of truth, there's something wrong.
Right.
Clint Torres says, wasn't there already a show called My Son Hunter?
I don't know.
Huh.
We will grab more.
It was a movie with, wasn't it? My Son Hunter with
Oh, yeah.
Robert Davi, right?
Yes.
Yeah. There was a movie that came out.
Lawrence
called My Son.
Fox.
Oh, yeah.
John James.
Jackie says, the show should be called The Wilmington Hillbillies. Hunter is Jethro. Naomi is Daisy May. Jill as the spinster from the bank. The Wilmington Hillbillies.
There you go.
Oh.
Assior says, the coke will be blamed on Kamala. She resigns. Enter Newsom. Then impeach Biden. Enter Newsom. 2024 turns into Newsom re-election. Too circuitous,
What, you don't think he's going to run?
I do. But the idea that they impeach Kamala, appoint Newsom, then impeach Biden, so Newsom becomes president, is just absurd.
Well, yeah, that's too many levels there.
Yeah, they could find a straighter path than that.
Yeah.
Silver Knight says RFK Jr. will be the biggest bait and switch in history. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, he's still a Democrat. When he runs against Trump, the media and all the Democrats will fall right behind him. I wonder if that's the same for DeSantis too. It's the zealotry that really gets me. The people I resonated a lot with were during the Trump years was stop making me defend Trump. Because like in 2018 and 19, I'm just like, I'm not voting for this guy. I'm not a big fan, but seriously, that's a lie. Okay. There's things I'm critical of the guy over. The economy is doing well, but like, that's not true. And there were a lot of people I knew who were like that. And Trump supporters were respectful of that position.
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly, they were like, we get it. Like, as long as you're telling the truth. Now you have the DeSantis people who are acting just like Democrats, twisting, lying, smearing, and playing dirty, manipulative games. I don't want to have anything to do with that. And they're doing it to RFK too. So
Yeah,
we'll
if
see.
you think he's a Trojan horse, check out that Lex Friedman interview with him and see if you still think that after an hour.
Well, I think... Sorry, I was just going to say, I think what a lot of people are criticizing is like, oh, stop fawning over him because he's still a liberal. But I think to Tim's point, or just in general, I think a lot of Trump supporters don't really care about that much. If you're anti-establishment, we kind of got something in common there.
Yeah, Trump was a liberal Democrat in the early days anyway. No one cared about the
Kind
party
of
he was
throwing my
in.
mind
sure.
that he was Democrat on the Democrat ticket. Didn't really see that after reading some of his books and stuff.
RFK.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but gun control stuff in the past.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't read enough, but yeah.
I mean, he's running as a Democrat for a reason,
Right.
or at least aligning that way.
Right.
I
dig the fact that like the establishment doesn't like him, but that's where like the stuff that I like about RFK stops. Like all of his policies, like I don't find anything that's liberty focused. Like there's a lot of talk about the Libertarian Party because he went to Pork Fest and he spoke up there, and it's like,
Wow.
he's not a libertarian, and it's like, so if you're a conservative or if you're small government minded, that's not Kennedy at all. So
All right, the Moffinator says, it's almost as if Tim, a man who makes his living and runs companies around making media content, would understand how copyright laws work. Absolutely. In fact, not only that, but I actually made an app with a buddy of mine 10 years ago called Tagly, which we got to bring back. So, Isaac, I hit you up. We got to bring the app back. What the app does is it's a camera app. And when you take a picture, it instantly includes time, date, location, and custom text. you can customize what appears. So you can make it so that it only shows the date, only shows location, only shows custom text, or for some reason none, which you already have a camera so you don't need to. And it works on video as well. So you'd record a video, save, and then it would instantly render the video with in the bottom left corner the time, date, location, and all that stuff. So we got to bring that back. The point of that, it also, one of the components that was in the works was it would create what is effectively these days a cryptographic key. At the time, we were all excited about this technology where it would create a digital fingerprint, which would be unique to the photo, and it's like effectively an NFT. And that was the intent was that a reporter on the ground who takes a photo or video would have definitive proof and the means of stamping their videos instantly. There are apps where you can pull a photo in, drag text over, type in what you want, and then press render.
Right.
You can't do that when you're on the ground filming stuff.
Right.
So we do want to bring this back, but my point is this. Not only do I know how copyright law works, I have successfully sent cease and desist letters and gotten content taken down from people who have stolen my works. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've gotten paid. I had one major network send me several checks for using my footage without permission. And it is really simple. Often they'll use your footage. You'll send a letter saying, thank you for using my footage. However, you require a license. They respond with how much? You say, here's my standard rate because you didn't give permission. I would like X. They say, no problem, sir. The check is on its way. It's usually resolved very, very easily.
That's right.
What people don't understand about fair use is they're like, I can take any news footage I want and just use it. Okay. You can't take documentary footage from Netflix and just upload it to Twitter. You can, in some circumstances, fair use this. Fair use is always copyright infringement, and you can always be taken to court over it, and then you need to justify why it was fair use. There is one big limit to fair use when it comes to news. Did the person produce the content specifically for the purpose of licensing out and distribution? And if the answer is yes, there's no fair use. Sorry. Getty, Corbis, which was purchased by Getty, and these other big libraries, you can't take a stock video from Getty and say, but it's fair use.
But AI can.
Even no, they're getting sued over this.
I hope so.
So I'll give you an example. There are many photographers who tweet out their photos and then license them to major news networks. You will be sued in 2 seconds if you touch that photo. 2 seconds. Because even though they published it on Twitter, they expect to sell a license for it. If it was true that you could fair use anyone's news footage, raw footage, there would be no independent or freelance reporters. They couldn't exist. Because anything you put out would instantly just get used under fair use.
Yeah.
There are arguments to be made over what the limits are. So direct commentary on things that are public do have strong protections. My point ultimately with the copyright thing, DeSantis, is I'm not even literally saying that they should have paid me. I'm just saying like we didn't do that arrangement with them. That was the clarification. But there you go. I love talking about copyright stuff. I've been in many legal circumstances. Typically, they never go to lawsuits, and usually they're resolved with no problem, man. Hey, sorry this happened, and everyone's really nice about it, and they just write you a check. So anyway, moving on. We'll grab some more super chats. RDC says Vivek is awesome. But he got in there. But if he got in there, I believe he would be sucker punched by bad the corruption actually is, by how bad it actually is, and be roadblocked like Trump was in 2016. I somewhat agree, but I don't completely agree. I do think he will face unexpected conflict, but I think he would not act the same way. I think Vivek would handle it very, very well. If you heard his story, if you watch the Culture War podcast we did with him, this is a man on a mission. They besmirched his good name and honor when he tried doing everything right. Basically his story was that they wanted him to write some like pro BLM thing, and he wrote this fairly like, "Hey, I hope we can come together and overcome this stuff." Then they came to him and said, "No, that wasn't good enough. Do more." And he was like, "What do you like? I'm doing it. Why are you coming at me?" Then they started attacking him relentlessly. People started resigning, and then he was like, "We've got a very serious problem here."
Right.
And so it seems like two things happened. He recognizes this crisis in the United States when it comes to ESG and wokeness, and he was personally offended. So I don't think he's going to go into the White House if he does, which I think is a long shot, if to say even a long shot. I don't think he goes in and falls in the same traps as Trump, because Trump thought he was going to be able to compromise and be a typical president. But I do think Vivek will experience things he doesn't expect because he's not a politician.
Yeah.
We will grab some more super chats. Nuka Taco says, Phil, every presidential election has been a popularity contest, not just JFK. George Washington, Andrew Jackson, Ulysses S. Grant, Teddy Roosevelt, FDR, just to name a few. That's right.
Yeah, I know.
Did George Washington run against somebody?
My point about
You were talking about the show, the kind of
just
not
the
even a popularity
way that
contest,
people
but-
saw, when people can see the actual people that are running, like on a wide, a broad.
It was like the introduction of entertainment to politics.
Yeah, spectacle.
right?
For
yeah,
sure.
like if you saw
Right.
at stump speeches way back in the day too, and everyone there was,
It used to be about, like, you'd read about what they said in the newspaper. That was the majority of.
But considering it's Democrat, our presidents are are at least somewhat democratically elected. They are almost all going to be popularity contests because the popular, one is going to probably get most of the votes.
Ian, I have to read this one. PK says, Ian, have you ever went the wrong direction on the interstate, and when you realized it, you just kept going?
No.
Oh my gosh.
I think I did that on a road once, but pulled off.
I'm glad you pulled
That's
off.
funny.
Yeah, but Trump says, I actually believe that Joe Rogan could humiliate Trump, but not for lack of trying. It's a Donald Trump thing, not a Joe Rogan thing.
Yeah, I don't like it either. I don't like the humiliation, but
I
that's
don't-
politics, man.
I see. The issue is, let me explain something to you guys. When imagine a high school class, and somebody farts, then someone else goes, "Yo, he farted." He's like, "No, I didn't. No, I didn't." And then everyone starts laughing at the guy who farted. Right? Now imagine the guy who goes, "Hey, everybody, check this out." Lifts his cheek and goes really loudly, and then everyone goes, "Oh!" And he starts busting out laughing, being like, "Smell my fart." You see, the difference is the guy who tries to hide it is embarrassed it happened. The other guy is subjecting you to it. This is how I see Trump. Trump is the guy who subjects you to his fart and laughs about it. Seriously. As opposed to the guy who secretly tries to hide it and says, "It wasn't me. Oh no, I'm so
Right.
embarrassed."
Well,
So,
one
like,
of
how do you
those
make
is
fun of
certainly
a
more
guy?
confident.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do you make fun of the guy who's wafting it over at you and being like, "Revel in it. There's nothing you can do about it." You can't mock him for it. He
mean-
loves it.
Yeah, that's why I go dirty. You got.
Does it get dirtier than fart jokes?
Yeah, I go with their family life and like try and really hurt their really hurt their emotions. But I only had to do it as a young kid
We're not
because
gonna
my friends were
start talking about this again.
my friends were
are we?
brutal to me. Like growing up, they'd be like trying to dominate, and I'm like, I'm not letting let you do that, man. The reason you're doing it is because you came from a broken home. So stop.
All right, we'll grab one more. War Boss Badsmack says, Tim, recommend you try a game called Remnant from the Ashes, basically Dark Souls, but with tree monsters and guns. We'll check it out. All right, everybody, if you haven't already, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, become a member at timcast.com. Thanks for hanging out. It's been a blast. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. James, you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, you guys make sure to go subscribe over on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/James Klug. That's KLUG. If you like street conversation videos and all that great stuff, you're going to enjoy the channel. So go check that out. You guys, thank you so much for having me.
Right on.
Sup, everyone? You can follow me at Carter Banks on Twitter, Carter Banks 4L on Instagram, and follow Trash House Records on YouTube.
Hillary Clinton is the queen of warmongers, embodiment of corruption, and personification of rot. What a line.
Yes.
I love it. Personification of rot.
I thought it was worse than just that.
It's so good. I am Phil Labonte. Phil That Remains on Twitter. Phil That Remains official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Pandora. The internet.
And in case anyone's wondering, that was a Tulsi Gabbard quote that
Yes.
you were quoting.
That was
Not
Tulsi
necessarily your quote, but I don't know if you agree with it or not.
I definitely
Maybe you do.
agree in reference to Hillary Clinton. I do agree.
You heard it here, folks. Also, I want to give a special shout out to Suikoden. You guys ever play that game? It was another Square game back in the day. Suikoden 2. Great game.
Well,
Awesome
do you remember on
game.
what console?
It was Super Nintendo. No, actually, it might have been on PlayStation. It was on PlayStation.
PlayStation? Yeah.
Badass. And also, maybe castbrew.com. Obviously, we should do a coffee taste test some night. Have little little snifters of a bunch of different
I had-
coffees and sip. Just
I had
to get-
Roberto Jr. this morning, and
great
it's like
idea.
when I was drinking the Appalachian Nights, I was like, "This is the best coffee ever." And then this morning we switched to Roberto Jr. and I was like, "Oh, this is the best coffee ever."
Here we go.
It's just they're both so good.
Castbrew.com.
Man,
I'm Ian
I'm-
Crossland. Oh,
I sincerely mean it. Like I can't help but just chug this coffee.
I haven't tried it yet. I'm definitely gonna be trying it though.
Yeah, I
For
want
sure.
to back to back some straight black coffee. That's
And
what I'm
the
Perfect.
Sleepy Joe and the Unwoke are coming really, really soon.
Oh, then we'll do the taste test when those arrive. That sounds fun. Bye, guys. I'm Ian Crossland. Follow me anywhere on the internet. And we got Kellen, PDL.
Yeah, you guys can follow me at Kellen PDL. I want to give a quick shout out. Last Friday, we had a super chat come through of a Timcast community member that is coming out with a video game. Well, that game came out today on Steam called Drag the Dead. So go support another community member of Timcast. And I think it's better than like GoFundMe because you get something out of it. You get to play a game. So that came out today on Steam, Drag the Dead. Thanks,
Awesome.
guys.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. It's been a fun Friday night, and we'll see you all next time.